fantastic day coming off work, school, whatever the case may be. Before we start off our discussions, shout out to my good friend who did a fantastic job, a fantastic, tremendous job taking the time to actually doing the videos, the outro and the intro videos for the Sports PSP podcast. Her name is Chloe Evelyn, all the way from Australia. She is an independent freelance worker. Please, if you need help regarding content creation, so much more, check it out. But here is a little intro of the Sports PSP podcast. Yes, yes. Shout out to Chloe Evelyn, also known as Emily Smith, all the way from Australia. Please go check her out if y'all need help regarding content creation and so much more. Please go follow her on IG, and she'll help you out regarding the thumbnails, regarding the logos, banners, whatever type of content creation y'all need help with. Because Lord knows Sports PSP needs all the help he can get, as well as other content creators. If y'all need help regarding thumbnails, intro, outro, songs, please go talk to her. She knows exactly what she's doing. Unfortunately, our guy BRF Sports, he's not here tonight. He's got to take care of a personal matter. BRF, we love you, man. We wish you nothing but the best. Hope to see you soon. Take as much time as you need. God bless you, brother. But of course, we cannot do the Sports PSP podcast without my main man. To my gentleman on the right, all the way down from Columbus, Georgia, he is the 4 or 5 time college degree champion and counting. He is the military man and veteran. He is our police officer. He is the Al Roker of journalism. He is the young Charles Barkley. He is the young Mark Henry. He is Ace's best sibling. He is D's hysterical friend. He is Mama Champ's #1 son. There's a reason why his father called him champ for a reason. He is all that in a bag of chips. He cheated a little bit on his diet during Easter weekend, but he's getting back to his regime. But don't worry, sooner or later, Dak Reese and Po Boys, he'll probably stop by during football season if y'all still open. And obviously, don't be surprised, Magic City, if the big fella actually makes a grand appearance. The one and only, the big fella, undisputed world champ. How you doing, big fella?
I'm good, man. Yeah, got off that diet just a little bit. Shane's Rib Shack was calling my name, bro. So, so I had to get some of the ribs and the hot dogs from Shane's Rib Shack. Shout out to Shane's Rib Shack right by my job. So, yeah, man. Glad to be here, man. Shout out to my main man, our main man, BRF and Flash. Uh, BRF, we got you. See you soon, man. Take care of family business, and we got you. A lot of crazy stuff going on in the news, entanglements, all types of just nonsense going on, man. But look, on another note, shout out to the WNBA. Them women getting paid today. Jackie Young got paid. Kelsey Gray got paid. Jewel Lloyd got paid today. Alicia Gray got paid today. Marina Mabry, Brittany Sykes, a lot of those $1 million contracts that they fought so hard for, they're giving them out today. So I'm glad to see the WNBA, all the women, the star players of the WNBA, they're getting paid today. So I'm glad to see that. Y'all fought hard for that and y'all worked hard for it. So to see these $3 million contracts finally getting divvied up, that's amazing to see. And I'm glad to see all the women in the W getting paid. And it's going to be signed, sealed, delivered tomorrow. They will be made official tomorrow. And look out for Monday night, the WNBA draft. So the future of the W is here on top of the WNBA women's getting signed. So let's continue to support women's sports so they can get their money, as my sister would say, they money, they money, just like the men do. So let's go ahead and keep bigging up women's sports. It's projected women's sports this year is projected to hit the $3 billion mark. The $3 billion mark. That is the first time that has ever been done in women's sports history. So let's keep supporting the women, man. Let's keep supporting them and make sure that they get their money. Let's make sure they keep getting the recognition that they deserve. Let's make sure that they get everything that they so richly deserve. Why? Because they work hard for it.
Rightfully so. You mentioned, but you kind of slick. You left out one important thing that we may probably touch.
Yeah.
Crazy ass Republicans getting after Trump.
Oh man. I am not gonna get political today. I'm gonna
Well, I
just
mean, Jim Cornette. I mean, look. I mean, imagine what Jim Cornette is probably thinking right now.
hey, he's been saying it for years, but I'm not trying to get political right now. It has been very, very funny in the political department, man. But hey, look, it's getting interesting right now, man. We ain't even 4 months into the new year yet, so it's gonna be interesting to see how this year pans out. And shout out to Sports PSP for wearing the Fresh Prince jersey, man.
Oh,
Uh,
you recognize that?
Yeah, yeah, the Fresh
Same.
Prince jersey from Bel Air Academy. Hell yeah, keep doing the damn thing. That is a classic throwback. So, hey man, shout out to PSP for doing that, man. Shout out to PSP again, almost to 160. Y'all keep liking, keep subscribing. Let's keep that going so we can go ahead and we can put some money on in the Great Sports PSP's pocket. So we could go ahead and get him that big old contract that he so richly deserves and work hard for.
If you're trying to help me get that big time contract, Nessa and JoJo, stop asking me to do some strip dancing and all that type of shit. Cause I'm not doing that type of stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
we don't
not
want.
giving you. I'm not gonna be showing here, shaking my ass for cash. Unless if I was working on OnlyFans, you ain't going to see this 5'11", 150-ish pound body. You ain't seeing that. No way. That ain't happening.
Hey, just give him one helicopter. That might make him happy. You know.
Why don't you do it? And besides, my mama is already pissed off at me, and sooner or later, your mama's gonna get mad at me for trying to get me into doing that shit.
Yeah,
Now
let
you
me
want to
stop
bring
before.
you want to bring Ace into this situation. You want to bring D into
Yeah,
this
yeah. Let's
situation
leave.
as well.
Yeah, let's leave our bobs and them where they at, so we can sit out before they kick both of us off there. you know.
And speaking of beautiful women, shout out to the beautiful D. Love your sister. She is the best. She is funny. She's hysterical. She still brings up to me all the time with you, Champ, regarding the pastor situation. You know
Yeah.
what pastor.
Yeah. uh yeah. People keep telling me I sound like a preacher anyway. So I mean, it's it's kind of crazy that that video is the first thing that pops up in everybody's mind. It is funny. Shout out to D. Thank you for all your love, support, and thanks for all the jokes that you drop in the inbox during the week and the weekend. So keep doing your thing. You're beautiful. You're amazing. We appreciate you. And shout out to Mama PSP. Thank you for raising a hell of a son who is my great friend, by the way. So thank you for raising him and making him the man that he is today. So I appreciate that, mom. Shout out to mom. You know, Mother's Day is coming up, guys. So make sure you buy mom a gift.
Yes. Shout out to our good friend Casual. Salute, man. Sooner or
Oh,
later, we're going to have him back on the pod to discuss the NBA playoffs. Yes, he did say and tell me personally, soon as we discuss NBA playoffs, we're going to have him on. Um, I wish we would have had him on last week, particularly with the D Wade and James Harden debate. Because
yeah.
Casual, if y'all are interested in basketball content, look no
Yes.
further than him as far as X's and O's, styles, schemes, play style, stats, everything. Not just antiquated stats, true efficiency, true percentage shooting, everything else. Go talk to the big homie Casual. And shout out to Dwayne. They got them orange supporters.
We already getting off to the craziness.
Listen, do you know how bad you got to be as a president when Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Megan Kelly, all them people getting on your ass?
Yeah, it's getting pretty bad, man. It's
Like I said, you say it's uglier than the Master P sneaker. I always say it's uglier than Flavor Flav's teeth.
yeah. and it is getting bad. And I just pray for the country that I grew up in, because man, it is ugly out here. It is ugly out here. It's getting weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder by the day. I'd just stop watching the news at this point because I know some weird shit about to come up.
I wish I would be in Canada right now. That's a story for another day. But speaking of the yellow, see, I got the Bel Air Academy yellow. I wish I had the other yellow. And I got this Shure microphone. Shout out to Shure and Amazon with this microphone. Little scratch around over here, but still not a big deal because y'all can still hear me regardless. It's about how I sound regarding the microphone. Michigan finally broke the curse. Their first national championship since what, champ? 1989, I
Yeah,
think.
since the Glenn Rice era.
Champ, I got to be honest with you as a Michigan fan. I did not watch the game. I did not. Hell, to make a long story short, I did not want to jinx my team. I was too busy watching Bernie Mac, too busy watching Ted and Family Guy, having a couple of damn angry orchards, and then suddenly I fell asleep. And then I woke up. I figured, oh, okay, UConn's gonna win the whole thing. Dan Hurley, who's done a fantastic job with the program. Unfortunately, champ, your Lakers, they missed out on the opportunity of acquiring him. But when I saw that Michigan won the national championship, is it the Big Ten all of a sudden? Because UCLA, the women's basketball team, they beat South Carolina, Indiana, not too long ago. The football team, they beat Miami for the national championship. And I told you, Chip, I had Indiana as well as BRF. You had Miami. I am ecstatic as a Michigan fan because 2023, we were able to see them win the national championship on the football squad. Now we finally won the national championship on the basketball squad. We had opportunities in the 90s, of course, with the Michigan Fab Five. In my opinion, the greatest college basketball team to have never captured a championship with
Yeah.
Jalen Rose, Juwan Howard, Ray Jackson, Jimmy King, and of course, Chris Webber. You think of the controversial non-timeout call by Chris Webber. You think of the national championship that they lost to in 2012, I think it was to Louisville.
Mm.
And then in the 2017-2018 season to Villanova. I'm ecstatic, man. I'm happy. I'm blessed. It's a good day to be wearing that yellow. And shout out to another person who rocks that yellow, the great Kia. Even though black and yellow, but man, Michigan, man, I'm ecstatic that they won. And I didn't even watch the game because I was afraid that I was gonna jinx my team. It just seems like to me, champ, whenever I watch my team in the biggest stage, I feel like I jinxed them and I invite my own suffering. I was like, I am not gonna watch this game. I am not gonna watch this game because I don't want to get my heart broken. But when I saw the score that Michigan won, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, is it true? Is it true? It's kind of like me. I finally got laid with Halle Berry. I feel like that was actually true for me. It's like I finally had like a threesome with Lotto and Chloe Bailey. That's how I felt when I woke up in the morning seeing that Michigan won the national championship.
Ooh,
I'm gonna let you go.
uh, damn. I can't even talk.
It's like a
Um,
Christmas. It's like a Christmas gift for me. I mean, come on, man. I mean, hey,
yeah, I feel you. Number one, shout out to Michigan. That wasn't just for the Fab Five. That was for a lot of the great players that was played there. Let's not forget about Keith Tractor Trailer. Rest in peace.
yes.
Let's not forget about him. And Coach Fisher, a lot of those guys who played for Rod Palinka, just to name a few. So let's not forget about those guys, especially Keith Tractor Trailer. Um, I will say this: they won the game, but that was some of the most terrible shooting that I've ever seen in a national championship game. especially on the men's side. They did not shoot. Neither team shot that well, especially from the 3-point line. But they was able to get defensive, and they was able to make shots where it happened, where they needed to do, and make shots happen and make defensive stops. And I think that was a great defensive game that Michigan played. And what a way to break the curse. And to your point, the Big Ten, hey, they own sports right now. Let's give a quick shout out to another Big Ten team that is not getting a lot of credit. Penn State's wrestling team. They're the top
Yes.
wrestling school right now in the country, and I don't think that they're getting a lot of credit for the wrestling that they're doing because they have 5 different guys in 5 different weight classes that are in first place right now. So I think that Penn State needs to get a hell of a lot more credit than they are. We shouldn't be talking about every other sport and not be talking about Penn State's wrestling as far as the Big Ten is concerned. But look, hey, the playing field got leveled in a hurry when NIL came in. Not at us Southern schools or not the only ones able to play out that big money. Then guess what? Hey, now the playing field's level. So we got to find a way to get back in so we can win championships. Now we have been competitive. There's been a lot of competitive schools in the Southern conferences, especially on the women's side. When you think about LSU, Texas, Tennessee, and South Carolina. Shout out to Don Staley, by the way. But when you think about a lot of the schools that are dominating right now, all of them are coming from the Big Ten. And let's give another quick shout out to UCLA. Their basketball team, the women's basketball team, shout out to Lauren Betts. They were able to dominate that Don Staley team. I have never seen a Don Staley team dominated quite that bad.
Actually, I did, champ. Remember last year against UConn?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, last 2 years have not been pretty in those two national championship losses. It has not been pretty. Those are not Don Staley's teams. So it's going to be interesting to see what she does next year. But knowing Coach Staley, the CEO, she's going to get her some real women in there, and she's gonna re-up and reload. So shout out to South Carolina. Wish you could have brought it home, not just for yourself, but for the South. But yeah, it looks like the North have completely taken over. But hey, and for those of you who are gonna say
You
with
kind of
UCLA,
slept
they
on the
can't.
North. You kind of slept on the Big Ten a little bit, Chad, because yeah, you kind of did. Remember when Ohio State won the national championship? You said, "We'll see. Eventually, we'll bring back the crown." But lately, the Big Ten, that's something you're gonna have to be concerned with moving forward. College football, basketball. You mentioned with the wrestling. They're here to stay, and they're
Yeah,
only gonna keep on coming.
yeah, especially when you think about teams like Ohio State and Michigan in football. So especially Ohio State. Ohio State has some of the best players money can buy, no pun intended. But I did sleep on them because I thought that okay, it's just going to continue. But now that the playing field is leveled, man, it's good. Guess what? I'm not one of those. I'm not a biased fan. When the getting was good, when we was out here paying players left and right, guess what? It's fair. Now that everything is the playing field's level, you just got to get better as a program. You got to get better as a conference. So we're not the dominant conference anymore when it comes to sports. The North is at this point. Well, the North and the West, I would say for UCLA. But hey, you're taking advantage of opportunity. And for those of you who are going to sit around here and say that it's right for somebody to want to limit the amount of money that these players can get paid, shame on you. Because guess what? They have been playing for damn near nothing for years. Now all of a sudden they're going to get paid, and all of a sudden you want to take it away from them. Now I do agree with one of the things that a certain person did say. I really do think that one transfer before you have to sit out. I think that that's valid. I don't
Who's that certain person?
we'll just say that person. I'm not saying no names.
Wait, wait. Please tell me this is not Jason Whitlock.
No, this is
Oh,
this is higher. So this is
no.
at the highest level. So
What could be higher than Jason Whitlock? This weight is the
well, the
highest
president
amongst
he
them.
brought out that executive rule. So yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Well, oh, God.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
The former owner of the New Jersey Generals, he made that rule. So yeah, he's processed an executive order to put a cap on how much they can get paid, which I don't agree with, by the way. I believe that, hey, these kids should be getting paid if they're around here busting their behinds every week in order to make these universities millions of dollars. People talk about $1 million a year for these 18, 19-year-old kids, whether they men or women. But you got to think about this. By the time 4 years pass, especially if you're in a preeminent program, you've paid that $1 million if you've paid that back over a zillion times over, especially if you're playing for a school like an Ohio State, if you're playing for a school like a Michigan, if you're playing for certain schools. If you are at a preeminent program and you are going to championships and you're winning and you're in the television eye every single day, by the time you leave the university, you not only pay back your education, but that $1 million back several times over. So guess what? Because hey, most of the time you paid it back during the game because a lot of those games, those are $5 million gates.
Mhm.
So hey, so I don't blame these kids for getting paid. Let them continue to get paid. Whatever they do with it, that's up to them. They busted their behinds in order to get it. Like I said, I do agree with the president's assessment of one transfer because you transfer 4 or 5 or 6 times. It's like, damn. I mean, eventually you just got to admit you're not that damn good. So that's just my opinion. Anybody got another one? I'd love to hear it, but that's the only part I agree with it.
I
I
would
don't
say
agree with the
2.
cap.
I would say 2 times.
Too. Oh, that's fair enough too.
I don't agree. Look, I'm fair because look, I do not stand. I don't. I can't stand the Cheeto, the dumbass in office. But here, what I will say is fine. Okay, 5'6", that's going too extreme. At some point, you're gonna have to realize
You
you
just not
ain't
that
just that
good.
good.
You not that good.
But I do believe you should have at least 2 backup plans.
Yeah.
You should have 2 backup plans. But for me, Champ, as a Michigan fan, this is ecstatic because we finally broke the curse, man. And it's something good for Michigan fans to hold on to because recently we just won college football championship, now a men's basketball championship. Hopefully, we'll see what the women can do and other things for the University of Michigan. And it's more importantly something that Michigan needs because Michigan months ago was in that controversy, with Sharon Moore.
Yeah.
And for them to win a national championship, even though it's a different sport, but still for the university, that program is happy.
Yeah.
So you got to give those fans something to behold, man. And it was great, man. And I'm glad that the Fab Five, I'm glad that the rest of Michigan, the alumni, they were there to root and support. So, man, that's great. That's something to behold.
Yeah.
Big fella. Before I move on to Angel Reese, we're gonna real short and quick. Your North Carolina Tar Heels, they acquired Michael Malone. I think this is a good hire for them because again, Hubert Davis, he'll be a head coach somewhere, but he didn't live up to the standard for North Carolina. And I think that 19-point lead that the Tar Heels blew, that was the final straw.
Yeah.
So bringing in Michael Malone, in which I agree with Stephen A. Smith, you were able to win a championship on the professional level, and you
Mm-hmm.
coach some of the best players, particularly Nikola Jokic. You had a squad. You had Brown, you had Jamal Murray, you had Aaron Gordon, you had Katavious Caldwell Pope from your Lakers, who was a contributor for them winning the championship during the bubble. So you had a lot of quality guys on this team with North Carolina. They just got to do their part as far as the recruiting. But to bring in a guy like Michael Malone, who's one on the professional level, and if he can coach guys that have been established, imagine what he could do with guys straight out of high school or whatever, or out of the
Yeah.
transfer portal. Let him do the job. Let him coach this team. Let him help out with the younger players. He could show them I can not only help you in the college level, but I could also help you try to get to the pro level as well. So I think for North Carolina, this was a really solid hire. It's not an outstanding hire that's going to put them on the map. Nevertheless, I do think this is a good enough hire. They still got ways to go. But what are your thoughts as a North Carolina fan?
I think it's a good hire because guess what? He's one hell of a coach. I think he got a bad rap in
Denver.
Denver. Man, I think they should have gave once you
Remember, they
win the
fired him
championship.
late in the season. They fired him
Yeah,
late during last season.
and you just don't know what's going to happen once you get to the playoffs, especially when you're a proven coach. So I really think that they should have given him another chance. But I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that they hired a proven commodity. especially bringing him to North Carolina. He's proven he can not only just get you some NIL, but guess what? He's going to be able to get you. You're able to sell the NBA dream. Guess what? On top of NIL, because that's the ultimate dream in it. Yet still, it's not to go to college and get NIL money. It's to go to the NBA and get that 300 grand, that $300 million. So yeah, that's what the goal is. So got to get that.
Big fella, you gonna be ecstatic come summer. Atlanta, Columbus, Atlanta, y'all make sure y'all give the big fella some extra tickets for the summer because make no mistake about it, the big news surrounding sports happened to be one Angel Reese. Angel Reese, that's right, who's made a huge name for herself, especially off the court with her endorsements, McDonald's, Victoria's Secrets, everything else. The Chicago Sky traded the two-time WNBA All-Star to the Atlanta Dream in exchange for two first-round picks.
Hmm.
Chip, this is huge for the Atlanta Dream because I think it helps their chances as far as competing. And I think with Angel Reese, with the right type of tutelage, there's nowhere to go but up to improve her game. I don't think she can be the number one option. Nevertheless, you can be a key component on the team. And I still think she needs to work on her offensive game, but yet and still, she's going to give you 13, 14 points a night with 11 and 12 rebounds. Last year, she led the league in rebounding. After all, she coined the term me bounce.
Yeah.
So I think with Angel Reese, this is going to help the Dream as far as with rim protection. She's definitely going to give them an opportunity for points, offensive chances. So I like that for the Atlanta Dream. And after all, it's in Atlanta. So you go from one black market to Chicago to Atlanta, and we all know how big, how prominent of a city Atlanta is, particularly when it
Hmm.
comes to the black market, the HBCUs, the fashion, the modeling, and actress. Eventually, champ, I do see Angel Reese on a Tyler Perry show. I do see that one day. I really, no, I really do, because I really think,
The reason I'm laughing, I'm not laughing at what you're saying, but it is. it- I mean, it's right there for you. It's right there for you. It's yours for the taking. So it's going to be interesting. And to your point, Angel doesn't have to be the number one option like she did in Chicago. She doesn't.
and to your point, I think you and BRF touched on it. There was her and who's the other big from Chicago, Caruso, I think,
It was
Card
Camilla. It was her and Camilla Cardozo in Chicago.
Cardoza.
Those
They're
those
better
were the
off
main two
without each
efforts.
other. They're better off without each other. I just think Cardoza, she plays better without Angel Reese. And for whatever, that was another reason I think that's why Chicago decided to trade Angel Reese. There were also reports about them moving on from Angel Reese anyway.
Yeah.
So I think for Atlanta, this is great. You in a big market like Atlanta, a black one, and you know how she is to the celebrities, and it's also going to help her with her branding. I mean, think about it. You were in Chicago, and then that's a big market, and look at the amount of celebrities you had. One of the celebrities who I think lives in Atlanta, Lotto. You had her
Yeah.
on your podcast, and Glorilla, who's from Memphis, and we're gonna get into Memphis later on in the show. She lives in Atlanta now. So this is going to be great for Angel Reese as far as the branding, her podcasting, and meanwhile with the basketball with the amount of talent. And it's going to help her with more.
Monyon.
So I like it. I think the Atlanta Dream won this one. Only time will tell to see what the Chicago Sky could do, but I don't really trust them at this point as far as management. But when I look at the Dream, they won this trade hands down because I have a two-time All-Star who's led the WNBA in rebounding, who's going to give me 13, 14 points, who still needs to improve her game. But if Angel Reese can improve a little bit more, I could see Angel Reese averaging around 16, 17 with
Yeah.
12, 13 rebounds. and you'll definitely hear more of the conversations for her defensive player of the year.
Yep.
So the Atlanta Dream, hands down, they won this one. I think the teams that are going to be in their way, however, champ, the New York Liberty, the Minnesota Lynx, the Las Vegas Aces. I mean, the Los Angeles Sparks, they picked up the 10-time All-Star. So there's going to be some teams in their way, but I do think adding Angel Reese to the team is better because you get somebody who's a tremendous rebounder, a great rim protector, and who provides a spark and plus to the team. And off the court, it's great because, like I said, the black market, HBCUs, acting. I definitely see her doing a Tyler Perry show or going on a Tyler Perry episode, and I definitely see her doing bigger things for Atlanta. So I love it. What are your thoughts?
Hell of a job, Atlanta. This is equivalent to Michael Vick coming to town. This is that big. Her jersey sold out in less than 30 minutes. Less than 30 minutes. Tickets for them and versus the Las Vegas Aces, the season opener, went up 15 times 15 when that trade happened. They damn near sold out right now. They
Sold out on day one.
on day one. They damn near those tickets against the Atlanta Dream versus the Las Vegas Aces, the defending champions, are damn near sold out now. Look, Angel doesn't have to be the best player on this team. She doesn't. Just like she didn't have to be the best player on her team back at LSU. She has to be the best version of herself. And that's rebounding, defense, and guess what? Inside scoring. She doesn't have to bring the ball down. She'll probably be made on good nights, she'll be the third options. On bad nights, she'll be probably the fourth. And she has help down low now. She has a 5-time All-Star in the form of Breonna Jones. The first option is going to be Alicia Gray, shooting guard, who was an MVP candidate last year. Then Ryan Howard, she's a great defensive guard. They just resigned Niles Hillman. They have Papa, the greatest smile in the WNBA, that's coming back. That helps with a lot of scoring coming off the bench. So this team was contending last year until unfortunately they ran into the Indiana Fever and Kelsey Mitchell last year. So they traded her to a contender. And guess what? If the Chicago Sky play their cards right, they can very much do a lot of great things in these next two drafts. Now it's going to be up to them to do it because you have the superstars that are coming out. The next four drafts, you have a chance to be great. You already have Cardozo. You already have Haley Van Lift. Okay, who are you going to take this year? You're going to take Flage, or you're going to move up in order to Kate, AC Fudd. What are you going to do? Are you going to wait till next year and address the other big situation and take Audie Crooks? You have a lot of opportunity.
Or they
Or
could go to another, or they could try with Juju.
yes, or you could try tanking and just try to go get Juju. So there's a lot of things that you have to address. And look, rumor had it that they were trying to trade Ariel Atkins for the great Rukia Jackson. So in order to provide them a lot of much needed scoring. So there's a lot of things that the Chicago Sky have to address. They have been a monster as far as being a down franchise is concerned. Look, Angel Reese is not the only superstar that they have fumbled. They fumbled Courtney Vandersloot. They fumbled Candace Parker. They fumbled Courtney Williams, Gabby Williams. They fumbled a hell of a lot of superstars. This ain't just something that just started when Angel Reese got to
Who's the
the Chicago Sky.
who's the other tall basketball player, champ? She's white with the blonde hair. I think it
I
was
know
like
he,
L.
yeah,
I
and
can't.
Courtney Vandersloot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, she's back on their team now, but they fumbled her as well. They fumbled a lot of great players. So this ain't nothing that just got started when Angel Reese got there. They had that one magical year in 2021 when they won with Candace Parker and company, and they haven't done anything since. So they have a habit of fumbling great players.
Not to
So
mention Ella Del Don.
yes, yes,
That's the player I was referring to, champ.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Vandersloot. Sorry about
No,
that.
no, I remember her because I saw her from time to time because I used to work at Dick's Sporting Goods. I
Yeah,
saw some of the WNBA, but I actually liked her in terms of her shooting scoring ability. So they missed the bag on her.
yeah. So there's a lot of great players that the Chicago Sky have fumbled on, and Angel Reese is not the first, and she probably won't be the last. So I'll never forget Angel Reese asking Gabby Williams, who's probably going to end up leaving the Seattle Storm, hey, would you consider coming back to Chicago? And considering how badly Gabby Williams was treated in Chicago, she was like, I'm sorry, love you, Angel, but I would never consider going back to Chicago. Yeah. So she's not the first major superstar that has been fumbled by the Chicago Sky. And look, like I stated, Angel doesn't have to be the best player on the court like she was back in Chicago. She has to stick to her strengths and help this team go to a championship because unfortunately, especially when you go to a great team that was predicted to kind of go to a championship run last year, that is the expectation. They got stopped by the Indiana Fever last year. They got stopped in the first round. So unfortunately, it's championship or bust right now for the next couple of years. So you got to win the championship, and you got to bring a championship to the city of Atlanta, which will bring a hell of a lot of notoriety to Atlanta. You know, you got the Braves, you're going to be in a city that is yearning for a winner. They're yearning for a winner. We've been yearning for another winner ever since we won that World Series a couple of years ago. Yearning for a winner. And you have winners.
I know one damn thing. Your ass is gonna spend a shit ton of money to go to them games. I know
Oh
that for
yeah,
a fact.
I already got my ticket to go to them to them versus the Toronto Tempo at State Farm Arena. Good deal on that ticket, but you know I ain't finna give away too many secrets because I'm trying to go see a lot more WNBA games so I can support the women and you know try to put some more money in their pocket because there's going to be another collective bargaining agreement, and I'd like to see the max contract go up to $10 million rather than just $1 million. That's just me. I'm just being real. So I want to see that. But Angel doesn't have to be the best player on that team. She doesn't have to bring it down anymore. She doesn't have to. She has to play just like she played on those Olympic teams. Now, every night, just like she was on those Olympic teams, she's not going to have double double every single night. Understandably. But don't be the reason that they lose. Go to Atlanta, get your rebounds, hit the key shot that you need, and guess what? And join Brianna Jones, and y'all put that front court on demon time. And I think Brittany Griner is going to be playing center, so you're going to have a lot of help in the middle.
No,
You're not gonna,
Brittany has no choice but to play center
yeah,
because Angel's more fluid. She's a better athlete in terms of moving on the floor than she is at the five.
yeah,
Plus, Brittany Griner is bigger. Obviously, Brittany Griner is what, a legit 6'8", six
yeah. She's
nine.
6'8". Then you
Angel's
know
about six. Yeah,
Brianna Jones, she's 6'4". So Angel's going to go probably be going back to small forward. So she's not going to have to be the best player on that floor. They have a lot of scorers on that team that's going to be able to get the job done. It's going to be championship or bust this year and for the next couple of years because they signed Alicia Grant, a lot of other great players to long-term deals. And guess what? You're going to be burdened with a championship. And I think this helps the league. The main reason why it wasn't a rivalry with the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever because the Chicago Sky, unfortunately, they sucked. And like I stated on the Uncensored show, the real reason why the rivalry could never come into fruition is because when your team's not very, very good and you are the star on a low caliber team, it's never going to be a rivalry. It's never going to be a rivalry. People have got to understand this with Bird and Magic, it wasn't just Bird and Magic, it was the teams that were built around them. Caitlin Clark had a team that was built around her. She came into the league with an Aaliyah Boston, with a Kelsey Mitchell. So she had players on that team. Remember, Aaliyah Boston, Boston Market, she was rookie of the year before Caitlin Clark got there. Kelsey Mitchell was a two-time All-Star before Caitlin Clark got there. So there were pieces in place already. And they showed that by going all the way to the conference finals without her there. They nearly beat the Las Vegas Aces in order to get to the finals with damn near 10 players on injured reserve. So they proved they could win without her on the court. So all of those pieces that they had there before Caitlin Clark, guess what? They showed what they could really do last year. It came, all the fruit that was there, it bared and it harvested that year. It was a magical year. They had over 12 different players on injury reserve, and they still was able to damn near make it to the finals. Push the Las Vegas Aces to the limit. Damn near beat them. So there's gonna be a lot of situations to where
No, he got it now. Yeah,
yeah,
come on, Jib. Don't
mhm,
Casual's a smart brother, but
yeah,
I think for Chicago, it has more to do with the organization than Angel Reese.
yeah, and the
Far
coaching
more
too.
with the
They
organization because
changed the
I
coaching
mentioned
in 1 year. They changed it from Teaspoon, Teresa Witherspoon, who's a Hall of Famer, and
and
they
knows her
changed it.
basketball
Yeah,
and is tough, very disciplined. But Angel Reese just has to be the Angel Reese of what she was in LSU and from the Olympics teams.
yeah,
All she has to do is just we expect you to handle your business by in the paint, getting the rebounds, playing as hard as you can, and still be the person that you are. And I think Angel is going to be comfortable with that because of what she brings off the court. And on the court, all we just ask her to do is just play, improve your play as much as you can, and just do what you can. You're not asking Angel Reese to score 30 a night. That's not what you're asking her to do.
yeah,
Get you 12, 13 rebounds, get you your 10, 12, 13 points, and just play as hard as you can. And as long as she can do that, and as long as she's a key component, nothing else matters. And I got news for people who may hate on Angel Reese. Angel Reese is going to go to the Hall of Fame. I don't know if anyone notices, champ. Remember, it's the Naismith Hall of Fame, which means they factor everything into consideration: high
yeah. They do.
school, college, the Olympics. Angel Reese has won what three state championships in high school. She's won a national championship at LSU.
Yeah,
She's been to two WNBA All Star appearances. The Olympics work. So it's fair to say, I believe when it's all said and done, she's going to go to the Hall of Fame.
yeah. And in Chicago, like I stated, you can't ask a damn power forward to that's a defensive power forward to be a point guard and be your highest scorer every single night. There was
No, that's very unlikely, Chip. You
yeah,
can't ask her to do that because you're asking her to be something that she's not, and plus you're incorporating so much responsibilities on her. Would I love
yeah,
to see more versatility from Angel Reese? Yes. But in year 2 in her career,
yeah. That's what I said, that's not her game. That's not what she did at LSU. Yeah, her game was more like she'll get you some perimeter scoring every now and then, but that's not her game.
right.
Like your best two players, especially in a league that strives off of shooters, you can't just have your two best players be bigs and you not have any wing players. Have you noticed this? The Chicago Sky was at their best when Camila Cardoza and Angel Reese were there, and they had Kennedy Carter and Marina Mabry. Hey, they was on their way to the playoffs when Marina Mabry and Kennedy Carter were there.
And before last year, all this talk about Caitlin Clark, when Caitlin Clark was in the funk, Angel Reese was starting to heat up late in her rookie season. There were
Yeah.
discussions about her for rookie of the year until Caitlin Clark.
And then
So
she broke a wrist. Remember, she broke a wrist again.
yes,
So
but I think this is a huge move for Atlanta, champ. I'm happy. This will be a great opportunity for her to rejuvenate her career. I think just give her some time. We'll see how it goes. But I know for a fact you and Ace and the family are definitely going to be going to some Atlanta Dream games other than the Falcons.
yeah, I've been to the Hawks. I'm waiting to go to my Braves. Got to go see the Atlanta Dream. Like I stated, I didn't get a chance to go see them last year because I was so possessed with going to see the Braves, and it was hard to get tickets to the Braves, although they were losing last year. But this is a big thing for Atlanta, man, especially to have a black woman to be in a city like that where black women are thriving. That is not only an example for there's not only win for black Atlanta. That's a win for young black women in their 20s to see not only someone who looks like you being a WNBA all-star because look, let's just be real. Talent is so deep in the WNBA. For you to be an all-star, you have to do something right. It's not just fan voting. The coaches and the players vote and everything. So it's not just fan voting. It's the coaches and the players have to vote. The media has to vote. Guess what? It's not just pure fan voting. Let's
Yeah,
just get that out of
you have to take everything into consideration. But Atlanta is a beautiful place to go to.
the way.
I
Yeah.
ma- and I wouldn't mind living in Atlanta. I mean, heck, I get the good, delicious food. I get my hair braided and shit.
Yeah, just that damn Atlanta traffic is it's just that rush hour traffic, man. It takes 30 minutes to get to everything in Atlanta, no matter how close you are to it because of that traffic, man. Especially around 5 o'clock.
I hope they got some good bars in Atlanta.
Oh man, bro, they got barcades in a lot of the best bars you ever want to be in, man. So yeah, a lot of great bars, man. I've been to them, a lot of them. Yeah, one day I got to get you down here, and then one day I got to come up to your turf, and then I bring you down to my turf, and we'll go from there.
I'll
But
go to your turf first because I want to go to the South.
yeah, yeah, all right.
But I know you're
But
gonna go to Mad. I know you're gonna go to Waffle House.
yeah, Waffle. I don't think people understand this. Waffle House is a place that you go when you are lit up like a Christmas tree. You drunk. You've been
Mm-hmm.
sipping on that Willie D, on that Billy D, and you looking for something to eat. Waffle House is not a place you go to. That's your first choice. But yeah, that's not a
When you're
place you go
hungry as
to
hell,
when
but
you're
they
hungry as
got the
hell.
good
Yeah,
food though.
go. But that's not your first choice when you go to Waffle House. But uh, I digress. But Atlanta Dream got a chance to do something special. And I'm hoping that it does renew the rivalry. I hope that Atlanta and Indiana does get a chance to play in a playoff series, much like they did last year. I'm hoping that they do, and I'm hoping that they do go head up. And I'm hoping that this, opens back up a lot of not the bad stuff when it comes to a rivalry, but the television viewership. Because guess what? When you have a rivalry, good or bad, it helps the sport. And I think that it's going to help the rivalry and it's going to renew it. Because, like I said, the Chicago Sky was kind of bad. But, you know, look, rivalries create heroes, rivalries create villains. And no matter what side you're on, you're going to be you're going to be in tune. And when you have a hero and a villain in the sport, guess what? Of course, you're going to stay tuned to it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Casual. I know some people they say otherwise, champ. And and the only thing with the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, I'm just tired of like the rivalry or controversy, the type of stuff in order for us to hype up with the WNBA. Let's just focus more on the game. But
Yeah.
speaking of controversy, champ. Oh God, Lord mercy. LeBron, obviously, he was at the golf course and he talked about Memphis, how the team they should move to Nashville because there's a lot more interesting things to do there. You got the hockey team, I think it's the Predators,
Yeah,
Nashville
Predators.
Predators. You got the Vanderbilt Commodores. Nashville obviously is a better market than Memphis, and he said, "Look, the best chance that the Memphis Grizzlies they could have had me was 2003." And he said, "I would even pull an Eli Manning." Casual continue to go further. By the way, I disagree with y'all being minority of foreign office. I'll rock with it for now. We respectfully disagree, Casual, but that's why you the genius.
Yeah, that's why you're the subject matter expert. And yeah, whenever you say something, I take it as law, man. So whenever you disagree, I know you have a hell of a reason to disagree. You ain't like a lot of these other like trolls who just come out just saying stuff out of their neck. Hey, let me tell you something, and then I will go back. When Casual says something, you just believe he has a dictionary in order to back up what he's saying. He
In
has the
fairness, to
dictionary, the source,
do
and the
you do
encyclopedia in order to back up
do,
what he's saying. So when he
do you
disagrees with
remember?
something, I take it to law.
Do you remember? He was on Brandon from the Block Show, and he was making the argument about Allen Iverson. Remember, he didn't say Allen Iverson is one of the face of the NBA, but one of the faces.
Yeah.
And I mentioned to you, champ, after the conversation, everything Casual said was true.
Yeah.
Good or bad, Allen Iverson was one of the faces for the NBA because people admired and revered his size at 5'11". 106, 150 pounds soaking wet. Not to mention the arm sleeves, the headbands,
Yeah.
everything else that he wore. And remember, the do rags, the baggy jeans, the Tims, it was equivalent to every cat out here in New York, in Chicago, and Detroit, and LA.
Yeah.
And remember, rest his soul, David Stern, the commissioner,
Dress
implemented the
code.
dress code. Who do you think that played a role with it when it came to the dress code? Allen
Allen
Iverson.
Iverson.
And you even said yourself growing up, Allen Iverson was not your cup of tea. You
No.
were the darker version of Class Act.
Yeah.
The character portrayed by the great one of the great rap groups Kid and Play, Christopher Kid Reed. But later on you admired and you finally realized just how impactful Allen Iverson was.
Yeah. I realized that after I grew up. When I was growing up, I hated Allen Iverson. I was a Kobe guy. I hated Allen Iverson.
Shaq guy.
I mean, Kobe and Shaq, those were the guys I loved because, it's just like I said, the way I grew up, like I stated, people think that it's a thing about black and white. It's really a thing about young and old.
Right.
My father wanted me to dress a certain way. I always had to wear a tie to school. I always had to wear loafers to school. I was wearing sports coats when I was 13 years old. You know, hey, he always told me, before you go somewhere, put your sports coat on. Make sure when you get off that bus, you go play football or whatever sport I was playing, whether I was boxing or whatever, make sure you get off that bus, they see a degree of professionalism in you. I know you're 13, but that's what you're going to have to go through in corporate America once you get there. So this wasn't, when people talk about things like Allen Iverson, people think it's a case of black and white. Sometimes there's a lot of young and old because that's how he grew up. You had to present yourself a certain way in order to be taken serious. So I inherited that. But it wasn't until I got old. I think I was around 25 when I was like, damn, Allen Iverson was really that dude. And a lot of the stuff, because by that time, the world got a little bit more progressive, I will say. And I do use that term loosely, progressive. And it was a little bit more acceptable. But back then, if you go back and look at it, it wasn't just white reporters saying that about Allen Iverson. It was black reporters saying that about him too, about the thug element. Go back and look at it.
Yeah, and look at Jason Whitlock and all the things he said about Allen Iverson, and look at him now.
It wasn't
And
just Justin Whitlock. It was a
no,
lot of other black
but no,
reporters.
there were other black reporters, but Jason Whitlock was a key role champ. And I've also told you, and your father even said the same thing. People who wear suits and ties, they're perceived as good and innocent people. Are we sure about that?
Yeah,
Because
yep,
we've seen a lot of people wearing suit and ties in court.
yeah. And they the biggest criminals in in the building.
In the words of Chuck D, now more than ever, huh?
Exactly. So yeah, that, like I said, it wasn't a case of black and white. It was a case of
No, it
young and
was
old.
it was young old too.
Yeah, a
But I
lot of
think
cases of young and old. But casual, but to your point, casual, yeah. If he disagrees with something, he got the dictionary. So I mean, hey, I have no problem.
he ain't got a dictionary. He got a thesaurus. He got a Bible. He got a lot of shit, man. I
Yeah.
mean,
So that,
he's from this, and he lives in the South too. He lives in Texas. Let's keep it.
yeah, be careful out there in Houston, the casual. Be careful out there in Houston, casual. Don't get caught up out there.
well, there's Onyx. There's
It is
Onyx.
Onyx, yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of back to the subject, LeBron James, he was on the golf course. He was on some podcast or show, and he talked about Memphis and how Memphis is not his cup of tea place to be in. And look, is he the only one who's actually said this? No. Kevin Durant has said this. Derek White has said this. Marcus Smart. Did you see the video, Champ, that I sent you? That Legend of Winning did, in which Marcus Smart talked about the ugliest people are in Memphis.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but damn. That's messed up.
No, I mean, he said it. I'm not fabricating. Marcus Smart, who used to, I think he played for the Memphis Grizzlies at one point. He actually said it as well. And a lot of people on the media, especially one Stephen A. Smith, had an issue to what LeBron James had to say, to which Matt Barnes even had to check Stephen A. Smith, and they've been going back and forth. But my thing is, Stephen A., you said that last year when you had the Morris twins. You said that about Memphis yourself. And look, a lot of basketball players have said that Memphis is not their ideal place to go to or visit. It's not their cup of tea. And I think it's best for the organization for them to move to Nashville. Now, again, I want to be very careful because shout out to Maria, who is a native of Memphis, covers basketball. If you're looking for women's basketball and
Yeah.
everything with Memphis, follow Maria. Although at times she can be crazy with her sports opinions here and there, but that's a story for another day. I'm so I'm petty. I'm petty. I'm that way with men and women. So don't make it seem like I be any different. I call it the same. I keep it a buck. I mean, thank God for Jim Cornette because he gives me the license to say however I want. But for people to act as if LeBron James, what he said about Memphis being anti-black, that's bullshit. LeBron has done a lot of great things for the black community, especially for Akron, the I Heart Promise School, everything else, helping out young black kids, encouraging them in school, basketball, and everything else. LeBron James is worth $1 billion. Can't he have a preference to decide where he wants to go? Chip, I give you Chip, let me ask you something. Have you ever been to Memphis?
No, I haven't been to Memphis, but it's just I haven't been to Memphis, but everybody who has been there has told me, yeah, it's kind of gritty. There's not a lot of great hotels as far as five-star
But
hotels are concerned
great, but
outside
the
of the West.
culture. But
But
as you mentioned, Champ, the culture, because Jerry the King Lawler, you think of Memphis for the blues, the jazz, and everything else. Nevertheless, it's not the type of place where a lot of these players want to be.
it's a lot of
LeBron
small
just
market. It's a typical small market.
that and New Orleans. Although New Orleans, though, if you go to Bourbon Street and if you see them wags, now
Well,
that's the
let me
story
just be
for
real. New Orleans is a whole nother element because the thing is, that's a big city that they call it a small market, but it really isn't.
it's really
New
not
Orleans is gonna,
when you go to Bourbon Street, when you go to certain areas in New Orleans, it's more than it's given credit for.
yeah.
A-
We,
a- but Memphis, look, there are a lot of good things in Memphis, especially with the food. Listen, no good food in the South. That is a fact.
yeah.
If you go to the South, New Orleans, Texas, Georgia, any place in the South, there's some good ass food. But I think people blew it way out of proportion, especially with Stephen A. Smith, because you're making it more of a narrative than it really has to be. And then with Kendrick Perkins, only thing I disagree with Legend of Winning, he said he was disappointed with Kendrick Perkins. And I'm like, Legend, you a smart brother. You are brilliant when it comes to basketball and sports stuff. Why would you be disappointed in Kendrick Perkins? I've told you before, Champ, Kendrick Perkins is the type of dude, if he's cooking breakfast, lunch, dinner, I'm throwing that shit in the trash because I know it's going to be burnt. I wouldn't even feed it to my dog. Therefore, I would not be surprised with what Kendrick Perkins does. But Stephen A. Smith, I must admit, man, with what you said about LeBron James, Stephen A, you getting on LeBron James, what he said about Memphis, you said the exact thing about Memphis with the community. And lately, you've been attacking a lot of people in the black community. Jamel Hill, Jasmine Crockett. Matter of fact, you was on Sage Seal's podcast, and you even admitted that you regretted voting for Kamala Harris. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but and then with Matt Barnes, and then you got Steven Jackson into the mix because obviously with their podcast, All the Smoke, Matt Barnes even told you he from Memphis himself too. I just don't understand, but it piggybacks everything we've said, Chap, about Michelle Obama. ESPN is like reality TV. They're not interested. Are they really interested in what's going on in Memphis? Because it seems to me they're not. They're more interested in headlines, creating narratives, giving the audience something to talk about. Because Memphis, should they move to Nashville, champ? Yes, they should, because there's a lot more things in Nashville. Because the hockey team, the football team, the Tennessee Titans, they have the they're about to have a new stadium soon. They already have the new uniforms. Nashville is just a more attractive market than Memphis. But LeBron James, what he said about Memphis, it's not the first, nor will be the last time any basketball player has said about Memphis. Again, Kevin Durant has said it. Derek White has said it.
Stephen A.
Draymond
himself
Green,
has said it.
huh? Draymond
Stephen
Green.
A. Smith has said it because remember he talked about when the Morris
The,
team,
the,
he
the
talked about the
safety, the
crime,
security.
the
Yeah.
security, the crime. So what was
And,
so?
and if
I
you look at
mean,
it,
really?
Memphis, isn't it number one when it comes to the crime between 2025, 2026 of all cities? There's Little Rock, Arkansas, there's Mississippi. Memphis is up there. So, given the crime and also the fact that it's not an attractive market, a place for people to be in, and for you, Stephen A. Smith, to attack LeBron, considering that you said it yourself,
Yeah.
why are you tripping? And is it because of the beef y'all have with each other? Because obviously the situation that happened last year. So it seems to me Stephen A. Smith can't stop. He just can't stop. He just can't stop. Just about a few weeks ago, I commended you for getting after Jason Whitlock's fat ass, and now you continuously do a 180 or 360.
Mm.
Again, champ, Michelle Obama, for all people to say that ESPN is like reality TV. I mean, it is. I mean, and even Dan Orlowski, I know I'm digressing. Did you see what Dan Orlowski or heard what he said about Lamar Jackson not attending off-season workouts? When Lamar Jackson, this video of him actually at the workouts. Go-
ESPN, fire all those assholes and give me a sports PSP job. Give us a job because these dudes don't know what the hell they do. It's like, to your point, it's just like they try to create a lot of narratives. It's like, bro, we're in journalism. I understand. Look, the key in sports, in my humble opinion, pick a narrative when a narrative is there. If a narrative is there, cool. If it's not, report on sports. Your job is not to create a story. This is not all my children soap operas. This is not General Hospital.
Love and hip hop.
It's not none of that. Narratives are good when it comes to sports because I said it before and I said it again. We're not in the sports business. We're in the story business. Stories sell. But when you are putting out misinformation after misinformation after misinformation, it gets disgusting after a while. That's number one. Number two, Stephen A., stop with this beef with LeBron because you were the first person to point out crime in Memphis. Not anybody else. It was you. You pointed out crime in Memphis, and you said that on live television. Now, we'll give you credit. You gave the fans their credit, and they're just due. They have great fans. They have a great culture there. But the crime, the security, and the things like that, and you were the first one to point it out. It wasn't the Morris twins. It wasn't Kendrick Perkins. It wasn't anybody else but you. So you pointed out the crime. Nobody else. Number two, people are going to have a preference to where they would like to play. We saw Sophie Cunningham. She stated that, she in the WNBA when they was expanded, she stated that they wanted to put an expansion team in Miami rather than Detroit. Although the Detroit Shock, they have a history in the WNBA. There's a lot of players that want to choose the glamour cities. When you go to another city, you're on a business trip. You're doing it more than just to play basketball. I don't think a lot of people realize that. And these NBA players, especially guys of the caliber of LeBron, they run a world elbows for some of the elite. Like it or not, they're trying to rub elbows with some of the elite. Not just your musicians, not just your local celebrities, not just your rappers. They're trying to rub elbows so they can get richer. So for him to say Nashville, guess where those guys are at? In Nashville.
Phil.
All the partnerships, Nashville. Football team, hockey team, Nashville. I want you to look up while we're on the air. Look up the Westin Hotel in Nashville, right across the street from the Tennessee Titans Stadium. And look how beautiful that hotel is. And if you see that hotel, it has a pool on top of the building looking right across at the stadium. So guess what? People are going to want accommodations. People are going to want, the glamour city. People are going to want to be in glamorous places where not only they can feel safe, but their families can feel safe. So, yeah, I don't blame LeBron for saying that. I think we get to the point where every time somebody says something, we try to reach in order to make it a narrative that it wasn't. Because to your point, the most dangerous cities in America, Memphis is at the top.
Yeah, I'm reading it right now, champ. I'm reading it on real estate usnews.com. Memphis is number 1. Second is Oakland. Third is
Yeah.
St. Louis. Fourth is Baltimore. Fifth, Detroit. Sixth is Alexandria, Louisiana.
Yes.
Seventh, Cleveland. Eighth, New Orleans. Ninth, Monroe, Louisiana. And 10th is Pueblo, Colorado. Anniston, Alabama is 11th. Little Rock, Arkansas is like 12th. And Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, 13th.
And ironically, Oakland is number 2 and they don't have a damn team anymore in any sport.
They used to have
That
the
tells you
Raiders.
something.
That's gone. They
The
used to
Raiders,
have it with the Golden State Warriors. That's
gone.
gone.
The Oakland A's, they're gone. Crime went up in that city, and guess what? Boom. The sports. Yeah. So they're not. Guess what? It's not by accident that Oakland doesn't, as far as the fans go, they're some of the best fans that you ever want to have. Some of the best they sold out Oakland Raiders Stadium every single week, and the team was going 2-13 every single damn year. But it's not about the fans, it's about accommodations. It's about, the safety of the players, how safe they feel, how safe the NFL and the NBA owners feel in that environment. Him saying he wants to move the team out of the stadium, out of Memphis, that's not an indictment on the fans. It's an indictment on the accommodation. It's an indictment on the attractions. It's an indictment on some of the things that they have to go to in order to get there. And Memphis is not necessarily a glamour town. If he said move it out of Miami, I'd say there's something wrong with you, man. But he said move it out of Memphis. It's a very, very small market. It's a very small market. That's just what that is. He's a very, very small market, not necessarily a glamorous market. And
And
guess
by the way, Stephen, I'm sorry to cut you off, Chad. By the way, Stephen A. Smith, if there's one person who can understand that, it's you. After all, you brag about you going to Miami and LA. You've bragged about your dream NBA finals is in South Beach and La La Land.
yes, you want to go there because
So why
guess
are
what?
you
That's
complaining if
glamour.
you're Stephen A. Smith?
And again, like I said, it's no indictment on the fans of Memphis or the people of Memphis. But guess what? If you had to choose between Memphis or another city in Tennessee, guess what? You're more than likely going to pick Nashville or another city because of the attractions that are there. You're more than likely going to do that. I mean, one of the real reasons why they had to trade in order to get a lot of guys to Cleveland, uh, LeBron's second time around, is because guess what? It's not a glamour city. The reason why a lot of players are not going to Milwaukee in order to play with Giannis, not because he's not a good player, is because
Nobody wants to be in Milwaukee.
nobody wants to be in damn Milwaukee. It's just like you're a great player, but I don't want to go here. Yeah.
They want to live the life.
They want
That
to live the
and
life. You want to be in a glam town. You want to have a nightlife, especially considering how young a lot of these guys is. It's not like the old NBA where a lot of these guys are veterans and their family. A lot of these guys are very, very young. They want to go out on the town. They want to
the
get the,
millennials, the Gen Zs,
yeah, they want to
they
get their
want to
Ric Flair
party.
on.
That's
So
just
yeah,
it.
they want to
But
get their
that's
Ric
just
Flair
it.
on.
Lord, if you bring up helicopter one more time,
I didn't even
I,
say that, but I see where
no,
your mind.
no, because anytime when you think of Ric Flair, you bring. I always think of helicopter.
The plane ride from here.
But the thing is, though, I think this wasn't really a subject until LeBron said it. Because, like I said, other players have said it about Memphis, but you didn't pay enough attention. But because it's LeBron James, then all of a sudden you started to pay attention to it. And for those who say LeBron James is anti black because of what he said about Memphis, stop. That's ridiculous. He is a billionaire. People with that amount of money shouldn't they be entitled to their own personal preferences? Where they want to go, where they want to be on vacation, where they want to travel, where they want to eat. LeBron James is qualified to do that. Former or current, he's one of four people, former or current athlete, to be a billionaire. Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Tiger Woods, and LeBron James. He is entitled to his own preference. He doesn't want to be in Memphis. Memphis is not a place that people want to be in. Marcus Smart even said the ugliest people are in Memphis.
Again, and like I said, that was way harsher than what LeBron said. Like I stated, I
That
really
that
think
that worse. That
I really feel like ESPN is not out for sports anymore. They're out for a damn narrative. And look, if I'm the executives at ESPN, I'm pulling Stephen A to the side and saying, my man, you got to stop with this LeBron James bullshit. And I hate to say it like that, but it gets to a point where look, everything doesn't have to be a personal vendetta. You're not here to attack LeBron James. You are here to cover the damn sport. You're not here to be engaged in a Tupac and Biggie-esque war with damn LeBron James. You have to cover this guy. And if you're going blow for blow with a player like LeBron James and of his caliber, then guess what? What is your relationship going to be like with the future of the NBA? How are you going to be able to walk into locker rooms and get insider information? How are you going to be the journalist that we hired you to be? One thing about great journalists, they're able to get insider information. They're able to go out there and hit the road and hear about rumors. How is anybody going to feel safe talking to you and you're attacking players all the damn time in the media about shit that ain't got nothing to do with basketball or the sport itself? Every time we look around, you are attacking a player about something outside of the damn sport. What is your problem?
the problem is the bigger his ego. Remember what he said about Matt Barnes, calling Matt Barnes a pothead?
Again, look, nothing. Look, pot is legal for a reason in, I think, 25 different states. So guess what?
What's the big deal?
What's the big deal about it? So you're talking about somebody, and the thing is, you call Bronny a nepo baby in so many words, but you bring your daughter on your show every single day, and you have brought her to ESPN. Is that not nepotism? You have brought up crime in Memphis. Is that not the same thing that LeBron and everybody has been talking about? You're speaking out of both sides of your neck, and eventually ESPN has to wise up and understand that guess what? You're talking out of both sides of your face. You can't sit around here and talk about crime in Memphis, but when LeBron James said, I don't want to be in Memphis and they need to move the team to Nashville, now all of a sudden you want to call it an indictment against black people.
He's accused. I know what Stephen A is controlling the narrative, like he always accuses LeBron of controlling the narrative. And the thing is, Stephen A, you can't have it both ways. And the thing is, he was very condescending with Matt Barnes, saying, "You're an influencer. I'm a journalist. I've covered the sport. Just because you're a journalist and you've covered it that long doesn't necessarily mean you do that great of a job. Just
Exactly.
because
And
you
I
cover
think,
it, you don't know everything. You don't always know everything."
and who do you think whose show they would rather watch? Would you rather watch All the Smoke, or would you rather watch First Take? I would like to think a lot of people would rather pick All the Smoke. And unlike the whole beef between you and Jason Whitlock is in the thing, which is the thing right about now, you can't say that your ratings outdo All the Smoke. You can't talk about how your ratings, because everybody who I know loves All the Smoke. And at this point, you've lost a lot of the audience that you once had. Matt Barnes brought
Why?
up a good point. At one point, you were Allen Iverson's guy in the media. He
Yes,
was to Allen Iverson and black athletes what Ahmad Rashad was
to Michael
to
Jordan
Michael Jordan. Yes, yes,
or to
indeed.
Jim Ross with
Stone
Stone
Cold
Cold
Steve
Steve
Austin,
Austin.
which my main man PSP hooked me up. Check the back of me right about there, behind the wide back. You know what I'm saying? But you was
Nobody in the
that
media protected Allen Iverson more than you, Stephen A.
exactly.
Smith.
So when you think about that, and black athletes would be able to relate to you, much like they did Stuart Scott back in the day. And he said, if this guy that you were back then was to see this guy, you got to ask yourself. And he said, in no uncertain terms, that guy who you were back then, who was down with black athletes, who black athletes look forward to seeing, who black athletes knew that they could look to in order to protect them in the media against a lot of unbiased media. If that guy saw this guy today, he'd probably slap the crap out of that guy. So, and he had an exact point, because he was that beacon of hope in the media, much like Stuart Scott was. Stuart Scott was that guy in the media. Then it was Stephen A. Smith. Now now it's a clown show every single week, because you're beefing with the very people that you are trying to cover. You don't see Adam Schefter out here beefing with Ben Roethlisberger. You don't see Adam Schefter out here beefing with Tom Brady.
And Adam Schefter's had some problems.
I mean, with the Richie Incognito situation, but the thing was, that was his job. I'm
Not
reporting
just
on what was brought to your
not
what was
not
brought
just
to
the
my
Richie
attention.
Incognito situation, champ. He also had the situation with Dalvin Cook, the reporting of Dalvin Cook and the Deshaun Watson.
Oh,
Go remember that?
oh, I don't remember
Remember when
that. Enlighten me.
Yeah, remember when Deshaun Watson was cleared of the SA charges in court, and remember the statement that he made on Twitter? Just go when you have the chance, go Google and look at it. And he got a lot of blowback for that.
Okay.
But the thing is, champ, with Stephen A. Smith, you're being something that you don't want to be, Stephen A., because you've attacked Jasmine Crockett, you attacked, and also too another thing that we have not mentioned, and I'm so shocked that we've never mentioned it. Remember how he attacked Kyrie Irving years ago when Kyrie refused to take the vaccine? And Jay Williams, of all people, was the one who confronted Stephen A. Because wait a minute, Stephen A., how can you have such energy with Kyrie not getting the vaccine when he told you he wasn't going to get the vaccine, but you don't have the same energy for Aaron Rodgers, who lied?
Exactly. Not to mention, he didn't really much have. Remember that photo that came out about Jerry Jones, right? And remember the bullshit he said then. I am very fond of Jerry Jones. Okay. What does that have to do with any damn thing? What about the photo? So, I mean, a lot of things that Stephen A has done, it's a spectacle at this point. It's not like, I remember when ESPN, when they had Roy Firestone, Charlie Steiner, even Jim Rome to a certain extent before, unfortunately, Jim Everett, not Chris Everett, Jim Everett jumped on him on national television. And
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, I was watching that with my father when that happened. But when you had those type of journalists, they would go digging, but it wasn't personal attacks. All of that had to do with the game. Even with Craig Seeger I think Craig Seeger was on The Last Dance when he talked about backstabbing and stuff like that with Jerry Krause. He was referring to what people were saying were going on with the beefs between the front office within the Chicago Bulls and the players. It wasn't a personal attack. All of these personal attacks on players is what's turning these players against the media. And that's why I believe, look, that you could call me wrong. And and if you want to clip this, but I believe a lot of the reasons why a lot of athletes are becoming the media is because they no longer trust the media anymore like they did when it was Ramal
No,
Rashad,
no,
Stuart Scott,
no,
and
no,
guys
that's true.
like that.
No, that is true, champ.
I
That is
believe they're becoming
absolutely
the
true
media
because
because
a
they
lot
don't
of times,
trust the media anymore. And I believe that's why a lot of these former players are becoming the media and becoming more prominent in the media because guess what? They don't trust the media anymore. It's not about your stats anymore. It's not about who didn't show up for a game anymore. It's about personal attacks and who's going to generate the most drama. And that is the reason why a lot of these athletes, the minute that they retire, they go to sports media. They go get their podcast. They make sure they're on television in order to try to make sure that the narrative is brought to light as far as athletes are concerned. Because I believe that journalism and sports journalism is dead. It's more of a spectacle now. When Charlie Steiner and guys like that were on ESPN, the sports reporters, and Mitch Rosenbaum and all of those guys
John
were on.
Saunders.
Yes, Al Saunders and Al Michaels and Pat. It was about the game, whether it was basketball, football, or whatever. Now it's a case of, oh yeah, we need drama between athletes and the media. Your job as the media personality is to work with the athletes, not to be attacking them in the media about something they may have said. That's guys like our job in order to do that.
Right. And but the thing is, you know what makes it more embarrassing is that people like us, champ, we cover a lot more important things in the world of sports than they do. And I'm sorry. Jason Whitlock with this whole situation, I must show this. Did you see this? Please tell me. I mean, what? How does he find that funny? Why? Because he saw Drewski impersonating Charlie Kirk's widow.
If he wouldn't have said certain terms in that video, it actually would have been funny. It actually would have been funny. I mean, I don't really like Jason Whitlock. You know, I'm not a fan of Jason Whitlock, but for him to have that old ugly ass wig on, looking like the Nutty Professor, that was it was kind of funny. But had he not said certain words that I don't like, and I know you don't like, it would have actually have been funny because the best form of flattery is impersonation. So that's the reason why I'm laughing. I'd never give Jason Whitlock a lot of credit, but I actually found that kind of funny. I just don't like the language that he used in regards to certain terms. And I will not say those terms. You know the terms that he said. I don't really like the language that he used. And but had he not used those terms and used more analytical terms in his attack in acting like he was smoking the smoking that magic dragon,
But
I
this is the
actually would
same
have found it
Jason
funny.
Whitlock who calls himself a Christian, and really, this is God's work.
Oh shit.
BRF.
BIF.
Jason Whitlock looks like a cross between Sherman Klump and Gomez Adams. And thanks for the support, y'all. I'll be back soon. Got to get right. You know what? I'm gonna re-show that again.
What the fuck? BRF.
I mean, seriously. I mean,
But it
that's how
actually
he
would have
looked.
been funny had he not said a lot of terms. But you know him had that damn that ugly ass high top wig
What do you
fade.
expect with Jason Whitlock? This man has no integrity, champ. Which is why, even though Stephen A. Smith on his worst day, he is still a baby face compared to Jason Whitlock. You've often said your worst fear of all is for anyone to
Yeah,
compare
that
you to
is
Jason
still like
Whitlock.
I said. I will quit the day that I will compare it to him. I'm quitting. Like that day, like no questions asked. Time for me to quit. But I'm
It-
just like, it actually would have been funny had he not said a lot of terms because guess what? him impersonating, act like he was doing what he was doing, with the little wood piece or whatever. But hey, like I said, but that's who you expect that from. You
But you
expect it
expect that from people
like Jason
Jason
Whitlock. You don't
Whitlock.
expect that from a guy who's making $120 on damn on
ESPN,
ESPN. You
but
didn't see Stuart Scott out there attacking Shaq. You
but
didn't see him
but
out there
that's my point.
attacking
But
Kobe.
that's my point, champ. That here's my point. Here's my. BRF with them pipe bombs. I'll tell you that much. I mean, he's bringing some real flair with them pipe bombs. But big fella, here's my thing with Stephen A. Smith. ESPN is not going to hold him accountable. They're not, because ESPN has co-signed for this. You gave Stephen A. Smith all that money, knowing that he brings controversy. Everyone knows what Stephen A. Smith's goal is. He wants to, whether look, I don't see him running for president of the United States of America, and neither of us are going to vote for him.
The president of the student council.
I mean, but the thing is with Stephen A. Smith, again, Michelle Obama. I know I'm tired. I'm tired of being redundant, but when Michelle Obama is saying that ESPN is reality TV, that should tell you all you need to know. And again, she doesn't pay that much attention to sports like we do. And again, I want to make it clear for the record, I am not accusing Michelle Obama of not knowing sports because she's a woman. I wouldn't do that. But I don't often hear sports talks or conversations about sports from Michelle Obama. I don't hear conversations about sports when it comes to from Michelle Obama. I usually hear that from Barack
Barack.
or or anybody else. But for her of all people to actually say that about ESPN, the state of ESPN, reality TV, that should tell you about the company. That should tell you about Stephen A. Smith. That should tell you about the people. Heck, one of the great anchors that we love so much, Elle Duncan. Why do you think she's in Netflix now?
Well,
You
I
bring it
think
up all the time with that situation with Kendrick Perkins. We know
yeah,
that
I
for a fact.
think that had a lot to do with it. Why take a Tylenol when you can have a perk and then
And look, ESPN nowadays, I just don't watch the sports shows like they are, champ. I'd rather watch Fourth and One. Watch Player's Choice, Trent, our podcast, Casual, or anybody else because they may not be the big name. Nevertheless, still, it's real.
yeah.
It's not it's not about drama, it's not about soap operas or anything like that. You get to have real, authentic conversations about sports. And then we also go by the reporting. Come on, Dan Orlowski, you falsely claiming that Lamar Jackson did not attend off-season workouts when there's video and proof of it. And then on top of that, you're still claiming that Ty Simpson is a better quarterback than Fernando Mendoza. And again, and I agree with you, Champ. A lot of it has to do with SEC bias because this is really not a good, exciting quarterback class. Outside of Fernando Mendoza, this is really more wide receiver, defensive end, DBs, other skill positions. And again, it's just narrative, as you always say, narrative. Something that people will constantly talk about because nothing else that ESPN or any other major network finds exciting to discuss. And the thing is, with LeBron James, back to LeBron with what he said about Memphis, is it that big of a deal? Is it big of a deal because it's coming from him? Because again, other players have said this about Memphis. So that should tell you that Memphis still has a lot of work to do as far as their finances, as far as growing and improving to become a bigger market. But for Stephen A. Smith, for you to criticize LeBron James for it when you have said exactly the same thing about Memphis. Furthermore, You're a big market person yourself. We see you in LA. We see you in New York. We see you in South Beach. We see you in Vegas. Hell, we see you with the Dallas Cowboys. I am more convinced than ever Stephen A. Smith is a Dallas Cowboys fan because he loves the attention that the Dallas Cowboys brings to ESPN as well as any other network. After all, they're called America's team. We saw you in the press box sitting next to Jerry Jones. But LeBron said what he said about Memphis. Who is the first? He's not the first nor the last person to say that about Memphis. So why is it such a big deal? This is more to do with nothing. It would have been a bigger narrative if Memphis, the Memphis Grizzlies, officially moved to Nashville. That would have been a bigger narrative. But LeBron taking time in a golf course to say, "Hey, move to Nashville. You got a lot more things to look forward to with the Predators, the hockey team, the Vanderbilt Commodores, everything else. It's a bigger market." And again, champ, look, you are about business. You're about money. I do not want the Chicago Bears to leave, and Chicago is a big market itself to be the Indiana Bears, but you look at it from the state of business with money and everything else. And you look at Memphis in terms of crime rate, it's the highest up there.
Yeah.
And market, when in terms of a market, in terms of the big city, the big lights, fun things to do, it's not that type of place to be. It's not New York or LA, Chicago, Atlanta, Vegas, Dallas, Houston, or heck, even Phoenix. So to me, it's just blowing it way out of proportion. And look, did I like what Matt Barnes calling Stephen A. bootlicker stuff like that? No, because I feel like by you saying that, you're giving Stephen A. Smith more of a reason to take a shot. But for Stephen A. Smith to call Matt Barnes a pothead and an influencer, your ego, your ego.
Again,
He could have criticized Matt Barnes saying, I disagree, but I'm sorry, Stephen A. Your pattern is well documented because you won't keep the same energy with a lot of other people. Sorry, champ. I know you are very hesitant in using the word, but race applies. Had a white player had said that, do you think Stephen A. Smith would have kept the same energy? I'm
probably not.
unsure. I'm unsure. I'm definitely unsure. He wouldn't have kept the same energy because, again, Aaron Rodgers, when it came to the vaccine, when he lied, you didn't have that much. You didn't have that much energy compared to Kyrie Irving, who said, "I'm not going to get the vaccine." And for the record, I do not agree with Kyrie not getting the vaccine, but I respected his choice. Told you he wasn't going to get the vaccine. I don't agree with it, but hey, that's his choice. That's his prerogative. I may not like it, but I will respect it from as a man. But Stephen A, the problem is you won't keep the same energy.
Crazy. Stephen A. Like I said, man, we got to stop making a spectacle out of sports, man. We're here to cover sports, and you're not gonna see me taking personal attacks at anybody because of what they may have said. They have a right to an opinion, and if it's anything outside of basketball, what's on that stat sheet and what's on that box score, anything like that, guess what? It has shit to do with ESPN. ESPN is a sports network, not a reality TV network. And I feel like that slowly but surely, especially with Stephen A being the face of ESPN, ESPN is slowly but surely becoming the Zeus network. It's slowly but surely becoming that.
They're the
And
E
it's a
entertainment
lot
of
of drama.
sports.
I mean, you
They're the
got
E entertainment of sports.
it's just getting disgusting. There was a time where you could sell sports and you didn't have to come up with narratives. Sports always has a narrative within itself. You're always gonna have a narrative. Players go on streaks. There's always a narrative there. But when you're always trying to cover and bring a story that's really a non-story, it's kind of crazy. I think Charles Barkley brought that up at the beginning of his career. He said sports journalists are always trying to turn stories into non-story, trying to turn non-stories into stories. Or in other words, how we used to say it, making a mountain out of a molehill. It's sickening when you think about
It's damaging because there are a lot of good reporters like Brian Windhorst and others, but it's more about reality TV. And it's a damn shame because rather than paying attention to the sport, rather than paying attention to far more important things, we're paying attention to nonsense. That's the reality. But speaking of another controversial situation, champ Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini, the NFL reporter, man, you talk about entanglements with Jada Pinkett, with August Alsina. I mean, I'm sorry. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Because look at these photos right there
it.
of them in Arizona, I think. Hmm? Hmm?
Mm.
Hmm.
Wow, it's crazy. Look,
Did you see what Rob Parker had to say? He suggested that Diana Rossini should be fired.
she been shut down from what I've heard.
She's
She's
sidelined. The New York
sidelined.
Times.
Yeah, she's been sidelined. So look, I'm gonna just be real. I agree with Rob Parker to a certain extent because that is conflict of interest. How you sleeping with one of the football coaches, and that's your job to cover in the media. If it's the equivalent of my job as a safety inspector on a construction site, but one of the women foremen that's there, I'm sleeping with one of the women foremen. I could give them insider information. So that's just you're laughing, but it's true.
I'm not laughing because what you're saying is not true, Chip. It's kind of like if you're telling me something that's wrong, I got to go look it up. I know you're
So,
telling the truth.
so
It's just embarrassing because, damn, like,
I
but
mean,
there was signs though with how she was saying stuff about her husband not being satisfied or unsatisfied. I mean, there
yeah,
were kind of signs though, champ.
yeah. That was the signs, and hey man, shout out to Mike Vrabel, bro. You might not be a baseball coach, but you can do your thing in the bottom of the ninth. But let's just be
Lord.
yeah, man. Keep doing your thing in the bottom of the ninth, man. But know when to close. But anyway, you ain't Monty Arnold Rivera yet. Uh hey, look, there were signs there, and for all of you idiotic journalists that was on the road about the local journalist that was in Mrs. Lynn, that was in Jacksonville, throwing shade at her, talking about how that was a very, very chummy thing for her to say when cheering on Liam Cohen. I want to know where the blank are you at now that you have uh this whole thing going on? Because y'all had a lot to say when she said that. And we're not even gonna bring up the R card because I'm not that guy. But I'm gonna just ask this.
I am.
So you could bring up the fact that a journalist said, "Hey, you know, keep up the good work. This and this." You had a lot of shit to say about it, but this lady is becoming Gianna Michaels all of a sudden in the media, and now all of a sudden you ain't got nothing to say. Because I ain't heard not one person say shit on ESPN about it. I ain't heard not one person on NFL Network say nothing about it. I ain't heard local radio say anything about it. But all of a sudden now y'all kind of quiet.
Well, you know
And
why.
credit to Rob Parker, he did say something about it.
He did.
Credit to
Did,
Rob
did,
Parker, I
did,
give him a lot of credit. He did say something
I
about it.
showed you. Didn't I show you the
Yeah,
video?
you showed me that clip. But I want to know where all of you journalists about ethics and journalistic ethics and stuff like that. Now that she's out here, getting her Gianna Michaels on with Mike Vrabel, I want to know. So that's just what I want to know, because just a couple months ago, y'all had a lot to say about the local journalists. I want to know what and mind you, she's a senior writer at NFL Network. She's a senior writer. So she's not just one of these reporters that just jumped out of college and got directly into the game. She's a senior writer.
Actually, Champ, in fairness, if there was one person that actually did defend Lynn Jones, believe it or not, it was Pat McAfee.
Yeah, Pat McAfee, but the majority did not.
The majority,
The
because again,
majority did
I know
not.
I'm not I understand that, but I just want to make sure with Pat McAfee, at least he was a noticeable figure in the media who did give Lynn Jones her credit. And we got another comment. Getting her what on?
Gianna Michaels on, man. Is she out here getting her Gianna Michaels
No,
on?
she's just getting her Jada Pinkett Smith on. I mean,
So,
no,
but
no. To me, this isn't. No, it's an entanglement, Chip. Because wait a minute, they're both married. Correct me if I'm wrong. Aren't they both married? And you're a journalist. You're covering the NFL, and
she
you
covering
have,
more than the NFL.
huh?
She covering more than NFL.
Yeah, for NFL in the bedroom. NFL in the bedroom.
Yeah.
NFL in the
NBA.
bedroom. Look, her and Mike Vrabel,
Yes.
and again, just looking at these photos, look
Yeah.
like they're having a damn good time. Look
Yeah.
like they,
She's covered the NBA too. Nothing but ass. That's what she's. But yeah, man. Look, the whole Lynn Jones situation. Y'all was so quick to point out ethics. Now that she got caught, because you caught at this point. You caught. At this point, you caught. So I mean, ain't no sense in lying. I saw you. You saw me see you. So ain't no sense in lying. You out here.
no, it's been caught. It's kind of like a dude walking down the street with their pants down. We seen them butt ass naked. You caught.
Yeah, you caught. So ain't no sense in lying. Just admit your mistakes and just move forward. So, but for all of you media personalities that said, "Oh, that was kind of chummy," that's conflict of interest for her telling somebody to keep their head up. Yeah, I want to know where y'all at now, because I don't hear you talking. Which, hey,
Look,
I'm gonna
champ,
just be real.
go ahead.
If you're gonna keep the same energy with something, it's unethical, because that's some unethical shit. And like you said, the signs was already there, because she used to always talk stuff about, her old man, and how, they was getting divorced, and they
I
were
wonder how her old man's feeling right now. She's probably. You think he's
oh
filing them in
look,
divorce
you
papers?
are look. You are a senior writer at ESPN, and you caught. Oh,
And also work for the Atlantic.
exactly. So you know what? In the great words of the last Mr. Biggs, it's time to go to trial, man. Time to go to trial. Cause I want my alimony. Cause you caught at this point. You caught. Ain't no damn look. You caught. You caught red-handed. You caught with your drawers down. I want my money. You go have, in the great words of Andy Griffin, if you want to move on, you gonna have to pay me. Yeah. So now I'm not. If I'm him right about now, I'm sitting back with a cocktail in my mouth and a cigar, and the fattest Suge Knight cigar I could possibly smoke, because I know I'm finna get paid when I take that ass to court. I know I'm about to get paid, because you caught. In the great words of Future, ain't no way around it. You caught.
DJ
So now
Drama.
that you caught, it's all on tape. It's all on this. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he was the one who got the private investigator in order to leak it to the media. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it comes out later that he was behind it. But now that you caught, I'm trying to get paid. All that bull jive you was talking about me on television, how I'm average and stuff like that. Now I'm feeling to be average in your back pocket for the next, I don't know, certain odd years. Your next
Well,
contract
they
gonna
better.
belong to
Well,
me.
you better. Well, they better hope for Diana Rossini's sake about that prenup.
Hey man, look, you better. I hope you do. But if I'm him and she don't, whoo boy, I'm finna go shopping, baby, on your dime.
Let
And
me
I'm gonna
ask you
be
this, a hypothetical. Let me ask you this hypothetical. Sorry if I'm bringing the family into the fray. If your girl cheats on you, and if you have absolute undeniable proof to take her to court, do you think your moms and Ace will allow you to do that?
shit, yeah. They would encourage it. And I would encourage them to do. Look, man, I am all for equality. You get caught doing some stupid shit, guess what? You got capital punishment is the penalty. So guess what? You get caught doing some stupid shit, okay. You ain't got no prenup. You got to pay me. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
go to. I'm finna go to that courtroom smiling because now you got to pay me. You got caught cheating. And the thing is, it's the principle of not only I'm going to sue you not only for cheating, I'm going to sue you for defamation of character. I'm about to take you to court for emotional trauma. I'm about to sue your ass for old
Distress.
and new and everything. So yeah, I think that they will fully be supportive of me. Because matter of fact, some of that money don't go gonna go to them anyway. I'm gonna just be real. Let me, man, please. I would go to that courtroom smiling. I wouldn't be saying a word to the media. But that alimony, oh, you finna pay me. You finna pay my average ass, and I'm finna live on your dollar for the rest of your life. All that NFL money that you was talking shit about, oh, that's finna belong to my bank account.
What about Mike Vrabel's wife? Same thing. Definitely same thing.
Yes, I don't care. You
Mm-mm.
got caught doing something stupid. When you get caught doing something stupid, man, woman, or otherwise, them, they, or him, you deserve what the penalty is. If his wife takes him for all he got, and you got to coach for the next 20 years in order to pay her back that alimony, so be it. If she got to work for the rest of her life being a local newspaper writer, which newspapers ain't even in style anymore, in order to pay that alimony, which I'm running up a damn check like I'm drinking Ace of Spades every day, then guess what? I'm gonna run it up. You got caught doing something stupid. Guess what? You embarrassed me. You tried to make a fool out of me. Not both, in the great words of someone that I very much know, God rest his soul, my big brother. Not both of us playing. You want to play on TV, not both. Now I'm finna play in court. City boys up. We finna get paid. And every
I
time, and
I
every
just
time that
can't
you
wait.
look around, and every time you look around with your alimony money, I'm buying my new girlfriend red bottoms every day on with your money, and I'm making sure she knows and that you know that it's your money.
Hmm.
I just bought my new girlfriend something with your money. Send that check next week. I'll take your ass back to court. Mm-hmm. I'm just that petty. Don't do that to me. I'm petty. Don't do anything to try to embarrass somebody because whatever the
Hey,
penalty
you reap
is,
what you sow.
yeah, whatever the penalty is, and however the big of the insult is, they deserve to take you whatever penalty they. It says in the 48 laws of power, be careful who you offend. It says that in the 48 laws of
Yeah.
power. Be careful who you offend. So guess what? All the offense, all the big time talk, all that big money talk on TV. Oh, he's just an average guy. I've done unmentionable things in Miami.
That's bullshit.
And now you finna pay me every single dime. And like I said, every time I see you, I want my check. So if you want to do unmentionable things in Miami, you're gonna have to pay me.
Yeah, but Diana Rossini, you bought this all on yourself. If you weren't bragging, if you weren't complaining about your marriage status or the things regarding you and your husband, you wouldn't be in this predicament. But you got caught. You got caught. You got no one to blame but yourself. You say you got to be more. You should never even done it in the first place.
Got to be more. But the thing is this. I think this is an art that a lot of people in my life have taught me. If you're doing something stupid, keep your mouth closed about it. I think a lot of the things that is happening on social media is why people keep getting caught and doing stupid when they do stupid stuff, is they always have to open their mouth about it. A lot of people that I grew up around,
or put their business out, champ.
it gets that. They used to say this back in the good old days, back when I was growing there. They always used to say, "Do your dirt all by your lonely." They used to say that back in the day. Do your dirt all by your lonely. That means don't take nobody with you when you going to do dirt. Don't blast the fact that you about to do no dirt. Don't say nothing about the dirt that you're doing. Don't be sitting around here yapping your mouth. Your marriage might be on the rocks, your relationship might be on the rock, but that ain't for the world to know. Keep your mouth closed. Keep your mouth closed. And that's what I think when people get messed up at. They want to run this all the time about what's going on in their life. Stop running your mouth. And when nobody, and the thing is, had you not been running your mouth, a lot of the stuff that you would have been saying for a long time couldn't have been used against you in the court of law. But you could best believe when he take you behind the court, it's going to be used against you. And that's the problem nowadays. A lot of people would not get caught if you didn't say a word. There's a lot of stuff that people do on a regular basis that you probably wouldn't even suspect they're doing. But because they don't open their mouth about it, you would never suspect it.
But it
The
did
thing is,
happen.
and it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Look, I'll tell you a little story. Quick 30 seconds. You could be a thief. You could be a thief, robbing jewelry stores. And guess what? You could be robbing these expensive jewelry stores, doing heists and stuff. But if you walked around in a non-discreet car, took a lunchbox to your car like you worked every day and stuff like that, people would never suspect you doing a thing. People would never suspect you doing a thing. But if you are a thief and you go around here with the jewelry that you stole all day long, you drive it in a Rolls Royce when everybody know you don't work, and you live in a mansion when everybody know you don't work, you're basically telling the world. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. So you out
Exactly.
here running your mouth, you out here doing all this and other stuff. Guess what? You're going to get caught. A
And you're
lot of
gonna reap
things that
what
you
you
can
sow.
prevent when you start running your mouth.
And you're gonna reap what you sow. And eventually this would have never happened if you didn't do what you did. Don't run your mouth. And don't expect people to have any empathy or sympathy for your ass because hey, you did it to yourself.
Exactly.
I mean, how is I mean with New England, I mean, they have their issues with women. I mean, Belichick with the woman, Robert Kraft with his woman situations, and then Mike Vrabel with this type of woman situation. I mean, it's a pattern, champ. But Rob Parker, look, at the end of the day, as a journalist, the number one thing, if we're gonna get on Stephen A for not lacking integrity, same thing has to apply with Diana Rossini.
Mhm.
You're a journalist. You're supposed to have integrity, and you're having more than a relationship with the head coach of the New England Patriots. Now, if Diana Rossini were retired, or if she had a different type of role or occupation, maybe this wouldn't have been a big deal. Although Champ and I, we don't condone cheating.
No.
But the fact that you're a journalist and you are having this type of relationship with the head coach, I mean, it's obvious now that you're sidelined.
You a sideline and you a sideline.
I mean, the new the New York Times, isn't it true, Champ, that the New York Times just sidelined her?
Yeah, that's what I'm reading at this point in time. So you a sideline and you a sideline. So I mean,
So, what is that? So, I mean, th- that has got to be fucked up for you if you are Diana Rossini. As for Mike Vrabel, I don't know how the Patriots, how they're gonna deal with it, but my thing is with Robert Kraft, look, you've dealt with enough PR nonsense, so this is nothing new. You might as well just deal with it and just move on. Forgive and forget.
yeah, Fox
But
News, they've they're investigating her at this point in time, and yeah, reportedly she's sidelined according to Fox News. So yeah,
it may cost her her job with the Atlantic, champ. No, for the record, champ and I, we don't want Diana Rossini to be fired unemployed, but
no,
unfortunately, this may come with it. And if that happens, she's gonna have to move into a different transition to still be involved with the NFL, whether if it's podcasting. Like you always say, champ, podcasting is the new landscape for journalists, content creators, podcast influencers, whatever. That's what she's gonna have to do in order for it to
Yeah,
keep up, because people are not gonna read articles like they read from newspapers. You may read it from the internet, or if you're not interested in reading it, you just probably just going to hear what people have to say on podcasts or TV shows. That's what she's going to have to do. But damn,
I don't know
damn,
what's up with these
yo,
lady reporters and them going out there and
Cougars,
yeah.
they're getting the cougar on.
Well, they're
That's
not
what.
cougars. They just women our age now. So I mean,
Well, I mean, don't matter. They still they don't matter. They feel like no matter how old we get, we still getting our cougar on. And
yeah. First
it's
Portula,
it,
now Diana Rossini, and it's getting crazy. So
I mean, this is I mean, damn, talk about an entanglement with the whole thing with Jada Pinkett Smith. Now we got this with Diana Rossini. I mean, I couldn't believe. I mean, when I heard the story, champ, I thought no. But when you see the photos, photos are more captivating than actually reading the article. And when you see the photos, that should tell you all you need to know. I'm like, damn, she getting damn, Mike Vrabel's
yeah,
getting his Mac on with this
yeah.
woman.
I get it. Hey, now ask yourself, who's the back? Get his iceberg slim on, man. I see you, Mike Vrabel, iceberg, aka iceberg slim. Keep on doing your thing, man. In the great words of New Jack, keep on the good work, man.
Yeah, but at the same time,
I'm
his
just
wife,
saying,
yeah, but at the same time, his wife is looking at him and saying, okay.
all right, break out that money. I'm just being real, man. You doing stupid shit, you deserve what you get, bro. I really don't care. If you caught, you caught. In the great words
I
of my father, you weren't crying when you were doing your thing. So don't cry when that
you,
money start coming into
you know
play.
what, champ? You know what, champ? I hope I never get married or have that type or have a relationship, because I would hate to do something wrong.
I mean,
And then for
if
her,
you ain't
and
got
then
it in
for
your
that,
mind to do something wrong, then
no,
guess
no, no.
what? You're not gonna do it.
You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it. But you know, people are gonna do dumb shit regardless. As
Yeah,
you always say, you tell me all this all the time. 1,000 attaboys is always eclipsed by all one shit.
yeah.
And this is
Thing
one
is,
major all shit, because again, you can't hide it. You can't deny it. I'm sorry. We got the photos. Pictures are worth 1,000 words.
yeah.
And when you see the photos,
Again, like I said,
your
it's
ass is
nothing wrong
caught.
with that.
You got
It's
your
nothing
drawers
wrong with
caught.
that. It's like, look, if you're not gonna do anything wrong anyway, you have nothing to fear. I don't fear going around policemen because guess what? I'm not breaking the law.
No,
That's the
but
thing. And the thing is this. You have the thing is this. If you let temptation get to the point where you're willing to jeopardize everything in the world in order to just give it to that temptation, then who's more powerful, you or that temptation? That's how come when I say go Carmelo and risk it all, that's what I mean. Go Carmelo and risk it all because of that.
but look in that situation, that temptation won, and
It
now
doesn't
you're
have
gonna
to
have to
though,
deal with the consequences.
but it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. I mean, the thing is, temptation is all around you every single day. You don't necessarily have to give. You don't necessarily have to
Champ,
give
let me
into
ask
it.
you, champ, let me ask you a question. If you
Yeah.
get married, and if you have a beautiful wife, and if you see another woman, you gonna risk it?
No,
No,
I married this
I
woman
know
for a
I
reason.
would. That's why I said I hope I'm not married, and I hope I don't have a girlfriend or anything, because I'm afraid what could happen. I
You can't interfere.
you said to yourself, champ. I hope I never make anyone angry in my life.
Yeah, I hope I, especially not as angry as certain guys are. But yeah, I just I'm like this, man. Look, if you yeah, first Ime
Even
Doka,
joking.
yeah.
You fucked up the
How the
bag
fuck
when
do
you
you
had me
fuck
along.
me alone, bro? I mean, damn. But I look, temptation is all around.
It's one thing you can fuck up any ordinary woman, but Nia
Me
Long,
alone, the short hair queen. Come on, bro. You slipping. But
Imagine somebody has Sanaa Lathan and they fucked that up.
yeah, but that's the thing. But you got to say this. The thing is, temptation is around you every single day. You know, there were guns around me every single day when I was in the army. That don't mean you have to pick one up and shoot it. That's the thing. So that's just the thing. You have to control yourself. You have to control your mind. You have to control your body. You have control over all of these things. So if you choose to do that, you chose that. You don't
Apparently,
necessarily have to give in. And
yeah,
whatever you bow to, that's what you are a slave to.
yeah, but apparently, champ, we've had this conversation before, pussy can be very addictive.
I
It can
mean,
be
yeah,
mind fucking.
yeah.
That's why. That's why you need. That's why
Literally and
you need to go to
figuratively.
therapy.
Literally and figuratively.
That's why
But
you need to go to therapy. Take your ass to therapy. You need counseling or something. But
yeah,
one
be
thing
like
is
that
for
woman off of
sure.
Temptation, off the
Yeah.
Tyler Perry movie. Yeah. So
One thing is for sure. Their families. I don't know how they're going to be processing all of this, but
yeah, man.
them the husband and the wife, the husband of Diane Rossini and Mike Vrabel.
And this ain't the first scandal this year. You remember that whole that concert situation? Dude was holding the girl. The CEO of the company was holding the girl at the concert. They got caught. Money. I mean, look, man. Hey, pay up. Move on. That's just all I got to say at this juncture. So I'm just it's crazy. But like I said, it wouldn't get to that point had you not ran your mouth. Because now everything that you have ever said about that dude is going to be held against you in the court. Everything that you ever said. But you know, if you would have closed your mouth, probably would have never said that. So like I said, I don't know what's up with these reporters and sleeping with people, with colleagues and shit like that. I don't know. Don't look. If there's any model that I have, don't be shitting where you eat at. Don't do your dirt where you eat at. This is how you make your bag. I'm not telling you to go do anything stupid. Lord knows I'm not. But if you're gonna do something stupid, at least do it away from where you making your money at. Don't fuck up your bag. Don't let the WAP fuck up your BAG. Don't let the WAP fuck up your DA your BAG.
That's the same advice you gave regarding one Sharon Moore when he fucked up his
Exactly. Don't let
situation.
the WAP destroy your BAG. Don't shit where you eat at. Work is work, play is play. Don't mix that together. There's a difference that they tell you. There's a reason why all the OGs told us don't mix business with pleasure. Don't mix that with pleasure. Don't mix business and pleasure because it's gonna cost you one way or another. So yeah, I don't know what it is about these reporters going out here doing stuff like that. Don't crap where you eat at. This is how I eat. This is what I'm gonna do over here. Keep that way over there. Keep that miles away from over there. That way, can't nobody say you did anything. But you doing something so close to your job is stupid.
Well, and now they're gonna suffer the goddamn consequences.
Money.
S- Money, money. Damn. But fellas, let's move on. Baby face or heel. Now, for those who may not know, baby face heel means in wrestling language, baby face is a good guy, a heel is a bad guy, a tweener is someone in between. Carlos Mencia, heel.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that he stole jokes, champ. We knew he stole jokes. Remember, a lot of comedians have confronted him. Joe Rogan, remember the LA comedy act or whatever they were in 2007? Remember when Joe Rogan confronted him? And again, it
Yeah.
wasn't just Joe Rogan who has confronted Carlos Mencia for stealing jokes. One of them, which we will discuss for favorite moments, George Lopez,
Yeah.
confronted him. The problem I have with Carlos Mencia is that he's never taken any accountability or responsibility for joke stealing. Is he the first person to steal jokes? No. Robin Williams, rest his soul, was notorious for stealing jokes. Dane Cook, I think. Amy Schumer.
Even
A lot
Cedric
of
the Entertainer. I mean, even he stole, the bumbling
yes,
joke.
joke stealing has happened before, but not only stealing with Carlos Mencia, why he is a heel, bumping. You know what bumping means in comedy language, champ, right?
Yeah.
When a comedian is supposed to have an opportunity to go on stage and perform according to their scheduled time, and then they get bumped by some famous comedian. If you go and you watch the dark side of comedy, Carlos Mencia was known for bumping, notorious for bumping. Was he a good performer? Of course. I mean, because again, he had a lot of HBO specials. I mean, he was, and then later on, he did have Mind of Mencia, which was right after the Dave Chappelle show.
Yeah.
But I gotta call you a heel because again, you stole jokes, you shitted on your own people. Not only that, you were bumping. A lot of people described you as a dick.
Let's not forget about the Katrina remarks.
Yes. And comedians, Joe Rogan, George Lopez, other comedians have confronted you for stealing jokes, and you still won't acknowledge and admit that. And I think because of Carlos Mencia's refusal to admit that he's stealing jokes, that's why he's having a hard time finding opportunities. He's banned if he like the old legendary comedy stages, he's banned from performing. He
Damn.
has to go to like the C list or D list types of places in comedy.
Yeah. Damn, I didn't know that. You taught me something new. I didn't.
No,
I thought it was
this is
just a rumor.
no, this is on Dark Side of. Go watch the episode Dark Side of Comedy on Carlos
Okay.
Mencia.
I have to watch that.
It used to be on Hulu. I don't know why it's no longer on Hulu, but you they'll probably have it on Prime Video, or you're gonna have to buy an episode on it on YouTube. Carlos Mencia was known for stealing jokes. He was known for shitting on his own. He was known for shitting on his own contemporaries. And look, a lot of people also didn't like the fact that Carlos Mencia pretended to be Mexican when in actuality he's from Honduras.
Yeah.
So they didn't like that part. Even Joe Rogan was killing him off of that.
Kanye West did too.
Yep. Yeah, the South Park episode. Remember the South Park episode with
Yeah.
yep. What's your thoughts, big fella?
Everything you said was true, man. There's nothing I can do to elaborate on. It's just, hey, you know, everybody that stole a joke or two or three or four. You know, a lot of the jokes that I say, they're not my jokes. They're my dad's jokes. They're my dad's jokes. A lot of my dad's mannerisms come out on this show. So, hey, but I admit that.
Same thing here.
Hey, just gonna be real, man. When you lie, it's one thing. The only thing worse than a thief is a liar. So,
Phony.
and a phony. So, hey, and you were big at one point, super big at one point, but
He was in the
super
2000s
big.
and in the 90s.
You were super big, but hey, hey, when you get banned, whoo, it's kind of
Do you
hard to
rem-
come back from.
did you check the video in which Joe Rogan confronted him at that comedy special in LA?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
And
Not
Carlos
pretty.
Mencia, yep, not pretty, but another example, champ. And it doesn't just apply with black people, brown people too. You cannot do what the white man do and keep your job. And if Carlos Mencia actually thought for 1 second, champ, that incident with Joe Rogan would not jeopardize my career.
Not only that, you got to think about this. Eventually, one thing Americans hate, and I ain't talking about just white America. One thing that America hates is a damn phony.
Especially in the South. You told me that.
Exactly, especially in the South, they cannot stand a phony
Look at
ass.
Brian Kelly.
Exactly. That's why his ass up out of here. Ironically, they hired another phony, but we won't get into that. But one thing that they hate down south, especially in America, is a phony. And when you get exposed as a phony, it could get ugly real quick for you. So you gotta be careful with that. So Mancia, unfortunately, my friend, you are a heel. You are very heelish at this point. So
And again, no one is going to say, look, he stole jokes. It's not the end of the world. Like I mentioned, champ, Robin Williams was notorious for stealing jokes.
yeah,
But last time I
everybody
checked,
stole a
when
joke.
have you ever heard Robin Williams of being a absolute prick?
Yeah. Again, I'll say this, and I'll leave it at this. It's a lot easier to get away with bullshit when you're not a prick. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier for people to deal with you for doing certain injustices. It's a lot easier for people to deal with you as far as, doing certain things that are I wouldn't say unethical, but just against the moral code, quote unquote, when you're not a dick. When you're a dick and you're doing certain stuff, people want to serve you that humble pie. When you are humble about certain stuff, then people are not as anxious to kind of serve you on the platter and nail you to the cross. But when you're arrogant about it, unfortunately, people are
Not just
gonna
not just arrogant, delusional.
exactly. People are gonna let you know about your flaws, unfortunately. And yeah, ain't that that can save you. So
God ain't gonna save you on that.
I'm glad you brought him up, early in the league when you was writing the show because I had forgot all about that dude. I forgot all about that dude.
I was watching the episode, like I said, Dark Side of the Ring, and I did a lot of homework on Carlos Mencia. I mean, a lot of comedians called him out for for him stealing jokes. It was notorious. He was well known for stealing jokes and also with bumping. So, and again, it is my part. I'm gonna do whatever I want with it. But speaking of
Exactly.
another person, I believe he's a heel. I think you'll lean on tweener Vince Russo.
Heel. Heel.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say tweener because of what he was able to do during the Attitude Era. Because a lot of times I've been very critical of him because I said, okay, you did do your part in the Attitude Era, but at the same time, like the saying with chicken salad, it's not like you made chicken salad out of chicken shit. You did have The Rock, you did have Stone Cold, you did have Undertaker, you did have Mankind, you did have Kane, you did have Triple H, DX, you did have Mr. McMahon, the heel character. And I'm like, okay, Vince Russo, all right. You say you were responsible for a lot of this. All right, let's see you go to WCW since they fired Eric Bischoff. How'd that work out?
Well, not only that, you got to think about this. A lot of things, and I know we give him a lot of heat for this now, but
Rightfully
guess
so.
what? You got to think about who was overseeing him at this point. Vince Vince was writing all the way up until WrestleMania 40. He was
McMahon.
writing Vince McMahon. He was writing all the way up to even after they sold the company to TKO. I think the whole Cody Rhodes WrestleMania, he was still writing it. So yeah, so you had a filter there who you could filter a lot of things through. When you went to WCW, you didn't have that filter for you to tell for people to tell you what was good or what was bad. In fact, the guy who was in charge of WCW was Bill Shaw. He always used to say, I didn't come from a wrestling background. So, yes, when I would tell Eric Bischoff something was kind of bad, it would be kind of like, hey, granted, I didn't come from the wrestling world, but I don't think this is going to work. So, yeah, I think Vince Russo's a heel because guess what? I believe a lot of stars were stars in the making. Anyway, Stone Cold was a star. Vince McMahon saw it. The Rock was a star, third generation superstar. Vince McMahon saw it. There was a lot of great things that came out of the Attitude Era, but you got to think about who was overall in charge. Vince McMahon. And for all of his transgressions, I will say, Vince McMahon has been putting on wrestling shows since before I was a child. And granted, there's been a lot of changes in the wrestling world, and there's been a lot of transgressions with Vince, but Vince knows his wrestling, and he's been able to keep the WWE relevant even in some pretty dark years. Think about the New Generation era and the PG era. So when people were strongly criticizing him for the Super Cena era and criticizing him for the New Generation era when they were still trying to transition out of there. So yeah, for all of his antics, Vince knew how to write a show, and you knew how to filter that, and he knew how to filter a lot of the crazy stuff out of there. Because the minute that you were throwing stuff to the wall and seeing what stuck, you saw how much of a failure it really was. Not to mention, you aligning yourself with Ed Ferrara of all people,
Not to
and
mention, you called them one of the smartest people you've ever met, and then we all know the controversy with
Ed Ferrara,
impersonating Jim
Jim
Ross,
Ross, and
and
you
you played a
allowing
role in
that.
it. You, yeah.
The
Let's not
the
forget,
Oklahoma character, but
to which Jim Cornette was furious.
I don't think spitting in somebody's eye, threatening to kick their butt is furious. I don't think the word furious was it to describe how bad Jim Cornette was.
Then how
Which
would you characterize it?
I think the highest of festivity, if you really want me to be honest with you. But like I said, that would be no different than somebody calling you something out of the ordinary or out of line. And I heard about it, and they walk into the same place as me. Like, I heard about what you said about my friend. Don't come around me. So you're not supposed to be here. Get out. So, and quite frankly, I don't blame Jim Cornette for saying a lot of the things that he said. You insult a person's friend, insult a person's close friend, especially with the contributions that Jim Ross has done for the wrestling community, not just with the WCW, the WWE, but in the NWA and in Mid South. A person that has over years, 60 years of experience. Then guess what? Of course you're gonna ruffle a few feathers, and Jim Cornette had a right to say whatever. But I say Vince Russo's a heel. Not to mention, you can't call wrestling the F word and then expect you not to get backlash. It's not the F word. And shout out to one of our great people, Louise. He is a wrestler, and I know he's not the F word. Yeah, we all know what that F word applies when it comes to wrestling.
Look, another reason why he didn't take wrestling seriously. Let's not forget the Brawl for All. The only reason why you created the Brawl for All because according to Vince Russo, you had a conversation with John Bradshaw Layfield, whether in the locker or in the studio room, and you recall Bradshaw bragging how if this were real, he would kick everyone's ass. Jim Cornette couldn't have said it any better. How morally and intellectually bankrupt and irresponsible do you have to be to create a situation to which all of your wrestlers are hurt just to get even with a wrestler who was bragging about how tough he was in the locker room? And not only it hurt your wrestlers, it also cost the career of rest his soul, Dr. Death, Steve Williams.
Yeah, and eventually his life. So
Yes. And let's not forget the other incident in WCW. No disrespect to David Arquette, allowing him to win the title.
mm,
This is why, and again, champ, Jim Cornette is not really the most likable person because, as you always describe him as colorful,
colorful.
you have to really try extremely hard to piss him off. Compared to Vince Russo, Shawn Michaels, he would be Jim Cornette's best friend. And we all know how much of a prick Shawn Michaels was back in the 90s.
Basically.
Jim Cornette, for those who may not know, I'll say it. One day when Vince Russo is 6 feet under the ground like the rest of us, one day he wants to find his grave, take a piss on it, and have a picture hung on his wall.
Did you hear what he said about Jim Hurd?
I have not, actually.
I never forget. He said, "I heard that Jim Hurd is still alive, and when he passes away, I'm gonna go and dance on his grave and eat at Emo's Pizza when I do so." And you know, Emo's Pizza is big in St. Louis. He said, "I'm gonna dance on his grave as well to eat at Emo's Pizza in celebration." Did you know? Go back and listen to him. Because he didn't like Jim Hurd. Neither did the other wrestlers like Jim Hurd. And he said, "When I get my
He damn
release,
sure didn't like Kevin Dunn. He
no,
damn
they
sure.
didn't." And I never forget what he said. He said, "I got an idea." And I forget who he said to. I think it was uh Jim Ross or either Magnum TA or one of the guys. I never forget what he said. He said, "I got an idea with that. When my contract comes up and I go to the WWE, I'm gonna load a pew pew with a bunch of blanks. I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna fire it at him 7 different times and then lay it on the desk and say that's my release." And he said, "No." And the dude looked at it, he said, "Corny, do you really think that the people no, you're laughing, but I'm gonna send it to you." He said, "Corny, do you really think that he do you really think that the amount of people that doesn't like this MF, that he doesn't probably have a pew pew in his desk as well?" He said, "I looked at him and said, yeah, maybe you're right." So he said he was gonna load a pew pew with a bunch of blanks and fire it at him 6 times and then slam it down on the desk and say, "That's my release."
Why
So
I love Jim. Well, he's colorful, and especially the video I sent you, what he said about the sitting president.
yeah, that's amazing. Uh bluntness is the lost art. And look,
It sure is.
People may not like Jim Cornette, but I'm gonna just be real honest with you. Look, I'll respect you more when you're honest. You can be a prick about it. I'll respect you more if you tell the truth. Sometimes the truth is dark. Sometimes not what you want to hear. But I'll respect you for it.
You rather straight shoot you than bullshit you.
Exactly. If you look, don't be a backstabber. Shoot me right between the eyes. That's the thing.
All right. But yeah, Vince Russo, he's an absolute heel. He didn't take the business seriously. And here's the other thing where he loses me, champ. Do you remember Bash at the Beach 2000? He claimed that he laid to Hulk Hogan and everything. He claimed he laid everything to Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff for Hogan winning the match, to Hogan leaving the building, to him cutting the promo, calling Hogan a big bald son of a bitch, exposing what Hogan did behind the scenes and telling Hogan to kiss his ass, and then ending the night with Booker T winning the title over Jeff Jarrett. That don't make any sense to me. Hulk Hogan, did he not have creative control?
Yep. And they also called Scott Sasser as well. And according to Eric Bischoff, and they said Scott Sasser took his side as well. So
Yes. And remember, who was the conversation that Bischoff had on the phone with?
yeah, Scott Sasser.
Oh, Scott Sketson. I apologize. But here's the thing: why would someone of Hulk Hogan's status, knowing that he had 100% creative control, why would he allow Vince Russo to do all those things? That don't make any sense.
Mm.
It's like he wants us to believe his lies. And the brawl for all strategy, all that because of you, because of your ego. And you also claim that you were responsible for the Montreal screw job. He took credit for the Montreal screw job, champ, between
Yeah, I
Bret
remember
Hart and
that.
Shawn Michaels. And as Jim Cornette, he recalled Vince Russo's eyes were bugging out when he was explaining to Vince McMahon about the
Double
double
cross.
cross. Remember Strangle Lewis versus Henry DeGlon?
Yeah. Henry DeGlon.
And I'm sorry, Jim Cornette quoted the great Bill Watts. If he was walking through a men's locker room, he'd be whistling "Strangers in Paradise."
Mm.
Vince Russo did not even know what a double cross was. But again, that's why I say, champ, Cornette is a babyface, Russo is a heel, because Cornette makes you. Jim Cornette, he doesn't just love wrestling; it's his passion, it's his destiny. If wrestling were not his destiny, he would have one hell of a career as a comedian. Because the way he makes so many jokes and how he says this type of crazy shit, colorful. But when you are a diehard or aspiring wrestling fan, and if you want to listen to somebody regarding wrestling, look no further than Jim Cornette. That's why you and I have often said our goal one day is to have a podcast with the two Jims, Jim Ross
Yes.
and Jim
Jim
Cornette.
Cornette. Hell of a segment.
It is. One last one for Babyface Heel. This one easily Babyface. God rest his soul, the late great Eddie Guerrero.
Babyface. Undisputed babyface. All the things that he went through to finally reach the pinnacle. And remember, when he went backstage right before No Way Out, remember he said right when he went backstage, Brock Lesnar was in tears. That rise is something, and it wasn't just that rise of him overcoming addiction. It was overcoming WCW. Remember, he was never allowed to be anything other than the cruiserweight. He was never allowed to be on a big time card. He finally left, became part of the Radicals, got put into certain pictures initially when he came to WWE. First night had a big match. So then the Latino Heat,
Mm-hmm.
Radicals to Latino Heat, back to the Radicals again.
Remember the promos, he and rest his soul, the late great China.
Yeah, love China.
Love
But
her too.
but yeah, it wasn't just that. It was a meteoric rise going from WCW, going to the WWE, getting over with their crowd, becoming Los Guerreros, being part of that great tag team, going through that storyline of betrayal and overcoming that to finally reaching the pinnacle of your business. Finally reaches the pinnacle. That was something special to behold. Not to mention being on the biggest show in the history of the business alongside your best friend, which we would not say his name because of certain circumstances.
You can
Yep.
say it, champ. You can say
Okay.
it.
Right along with my bad. I didn't think you wanted to say it because of
No,
such.
no, no. I'm at this point where I just don't care. If I have to accept consequences, so be it. You can't. I mean, eventually people are gonna know.
Yeah. But being alongside Chris Benoit, who as a wrestler, one of the greatest technicians
Yes.
ever live. But that rise was so meteoric. Not to mention, man, he was so relatable. So
Yeah.
relatable. Could make everybody laugh. I never forget, man. There was not a dry when he passed away. There was not a dry eye in that arena. There was not a
I
dry eye.
honestly, champ, when I heard the news that he passed away, I thought it was a rip.
I thought it was too. I thought that's some bull. Go away. And then
But
then
when you
come.
see Fox News and when you see Vince McMahon and Chavo Guerrero actually doing a press conference and confirming Eddie Guerrero dead at the age of 38. I'm like,
Yeah.
really? I didn't
It,
really believe it at first. I just thought it was rib. I'm like, no, this cannot be true, because a few days we saw Eddie had his last match against Mr. Kennedy.
yeah. And look, he was a hell of a wrestler, was able to put a lot of guys over. That rivalry, him and JBL, put JBL as one of the greatest heels of his era. You know what? I believe
Who's a bigger heel during that time, JBL or Kane?
JBL. If you really look, I'm not trying to start no shit when I say this. I'm not trying to be political when I say this. But when you put no, go
I
back,
know what you're about to
go back
say.
and look at that JBL footage and look at the president's footage right now. It's parallel similarly.
Do you remember when John Bradshaw Layfield won the award to be the number 1 contender to face Eddie Guerrero at Judgment Day? And do you remember the promo he gave, something regarding the Mexico border?
Yes, that's the thing. And I mean, it's almost verbatim to what our city president was saying. And then come to find out, later on down the line, that JBL's a liberal was shocking as hell to me. So because I thought he was
He's
this
at, no,
hardcore,
he is, and
he was a hardcore. I thought he was a hard. I'm like, damn, you could not fake that right there. So, but it was just amazing. But like I said, go back and look at the president. Go back and look at JBL and look at the president right now. I mean, JBL was the president before the president. I mean, a billionaire prick. I mean, and a billionaire prick walking around just throwing his damn weight around. I mean, walking around, getting his haircut, getting his boot shined. I have a portfolio. I mean, and the crazy thing about that is JBL is just that smart. He has a portfolio with Wall Street.
oh, he's brilliant.
He's brilliant. But yeah, when you go back and you look at all of that
It's
and
a
look at our CD president, I was like, no, when I first saw the way that he acted his first turn, I'm like, that's not the damn president, just JBL. Like you almost is like, damn, are you playing a character? Or is that really you? And
no, no, he's a lot smarter than he's actually given credit for. I was more shocked that when he was actually portraying the character, he was more liberal. Kane, I mean, Kane, we know Kane as conservative, but Kane, though, he was vicious.
yeah, he was vicious, but
Remember, the jumper cables with Shane McMahon.
yeah, but the promos, the promo with Eddie Guerrero's mom, I'm not sure if that was his mom or not.
That was
You
his
know,
mom.
oh, that was his mom.
Yeah, the heart attack one. Yeah,
Oh shit! I did not know that. I thought that was fake. I thought she was an actor.
no, that was actually his mother.
Oh shit! You told me something I didn't know then.
I thought you would know that was his mother.
No, I thought that was an actor. I thought he would dare to, because in Latino culture and black culture, your mom, no. But yeah. But yeah, that's a
That
shock
was
to me.
actually his mother during that incident.
Yeah. The whole if she dies, she dies, and
Yeah,
that was just it's just it Kane was vicious, but the thing is, I expected that from Kane because he came into the business being vicious.
but
When
he
you
didn't have
go,
the mic skills like,
he didn't have the
however,
mic skills that JBL
JBL
had,
did.
and when you think about, everybody hates you. You know what? When you rich and you humble about it, that's one thing. But when you were rich, you're a prick and you're borderline racist. That's just it. Just grinds. It just grinds motherfuckers' gears at a certain point, and that's what JBL was. And guess what? You kept winning. You want to see that, and it just seems like every time you thought somebody was going to put this rich asshole in his place, it was just not to be. We thought it was going to be Booker T that put him in his place. Nope. You thought it was going to be Eddie Guerrero that put him in his place. Nope.
Nope.
You finally thought, you know, in a in a miraculous turn of events, that it was going to be the Undertaker. And you finally thought, oh, that's your ass, Mr. Postman. The
Mm-hmm.
Undertaker's about to beat that ass. Nope. Then you thought it was going to be the Big Show in
No way
that
out. The barbed wire steel
steel
cage
cage
match.
match, and he was able to get through that. It's like, ain't no way he won that. So he was did
Well, it was pretty
finally,
predictable when Big Show chokeslammed all the way through that ring,
yeah. I
and
didn't
then he
think he was gonna
crawled at
climb
the
out
end.
though, but especially in that barbed wire, because he got his behind mashed in that barbed wire steel cage match.
But he was such a heel because love him, Teddy Long. Tonight, you will
You
go
will go
one
one
on
on
one
one with the
with the
Undertaker.
Undertaker. And but Eddie Guerrero, to JBL's point, he did help him with the career. Let's not forget the great matches Eddie Guerrero had with Kurt Angle. Not just WrestleMania 20, you also had SummerSlam. You know, also the Royal Rumble match before when Eddie Guerrero became the number one contender to win the number one contender for the WWE Championship. Eddie, I say easily babyface. Eddie's relatable. That Viva la Raza, the dance, the Latino heat. The Another thing you didn't mention, champ, with WCW, they didn't give him the mic skills. They didn't give him the platform for him to speak.
Yeah,
So when you saw that with WWE, he had the charm, he had the personality. One of the missed opportunities that we didn't have with Eddie Guerrero was the supposed match he was gonna have with Shawn Michaels. I think at
that would have
WrestleMania
been
22.
that would have fed families for generations.
Right.
That would have fed families for generations. So, man, it's crazy.
I mean, to face Mr. WrestleMania, who the year before had a great match with Kurt Angle, the year before with Triple H and Chris Benoit, and then the year before with Jericho. And again, they have a lot in common. They're from the state of Texas. Eddie El Paso, Sean San Antonio, ladies man.
Yeah,
They love Eddie, and also they've had their obstacles, their problems. Obviously, substance abuse, alcohol. But with Eddie, I mean, Eddie made you believe. And
yeah,
Eddie was the underdog type of guy. Eddie's what, like 5'8", 5'9", I
yeah. He's
think.
not even. He's big because he's lifted. He had the muscles, but in reality, he wasn't that big.
Right. But the other thing that was so cool about Eddie, them low riders.
Yeah,
Them low riders. I like how he walked into the ring with style. And the greatest moment of Eddie Guerrero's career, not just winning the title No Way Out. I, Other than I love what Michael Cole said, Eddie Guerrero will no longer be called Addict. Tonight, Eddie Guerrero will simply be known as
WE
WWE
champion.
champion. Good for you, Eddie. To me, that's the best commentating I've heard from Michael Cole.
Yeah, I like Michael Cole. Michael Cole is one of the more underrated commentators in the land. If you really want me to be honest with you.
And they were at one point they were right neck and neck with Raw.
Yeah, SmackDown, and
That's
you
a
know
lot
who
to
that was,
that's a lot to say when you competing against Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler.
and you know who that
And
was
you had
because of, right?
who?
Paul Heyman,
Yes, we know that.
Paulie.
Yes.
Where did he get his? Where did Eddie Guerrero get his start? ECW.
Paulie,
Paulie, another Paul Heyman guy.
Stone Cold,
Paulie,
Paulie, Mick Foley,
Paulie.
Paulie.
So yeah, Paulie. You know, sort of like Paulie is sort of like how you are with podcasting. So if I ever make it big, I'm gonna say I'm a PSP guy. So
But Eddie Guerrero unequivocally babyface just because him overcoming the substance abuse issues, the underdog story, and the Latino culture. The Latino, even like guys like I'm seeing like one of my favorite guys, comedians, Gabriel Iglesias. I love how the way he talks about with Eddie Guerrero, Freddie Prince Jr., all the other current wrestlers, all the other people. I mean, he even made it so comfortable, not only for Latinas, but also for white people, also for black people. He made it so relatable. He made
Yeah,
it like so cool, and that's what you loved about so much with Eddie and that championship celebration when he won the title, and then you saw him going up and down the stands. I mean, that was a great moment. And like when he won that title, I cried. That was like a great moment because it made you feel like your dream can come true. And of course, the great wrestling background that he had.
yeah.
So easily 1000% babyface. But speaking of another babyface, favorite George Lopez moment,
Um,
the show.
yeah,
I love. I watch the George Lopez show all the time.
yeah,
One of the episodes I name on the show All I Live is because of George Lopez. And my favorite character on that show is Benny. Because Benny is such a mess whenever she gets when she is drinking or doing something reckless or foolish. But George Lopez back in the 90s and the thousands, man, he was big for Latino comedy.
yeah.
I love the George Lopez show. I also love that late night TV show that he had on TBS. Yeah, George Lopez was funny, man. If you take the time, just go watch the George Lopez show on whether on Hulu or on Peacock. Go take the time to watch it. Um, that's like one of my favorite shows. I love that show. But big fella,
I think he did a good job in Rio. Rio, he did a
yeah,
great job,
yes.
and Rio too, he did a great job.
Remember
Remember
Balls
the
of Fury?
yes, I think he did good job on that. Uh, the Collector when he
Yes.
played his gangster uncle, David's gangster. That was the that was a part of George Lopez. I'm like, oh, you kind of gutter, ain't you? I like that. That was real cool. I mean, the way he played that part with Shia LaBeouf, and unfortunately, he got unalived in that movie very early in the movie. But that was a hell of a movie and a hell of a part that he played in as the mechanic and as part of that organization. Uh I never forget. You remember when Shaq was
Yeah, the
rapping
song. Yeah.
Kobe? Tell me how, and then he impersonated Kobe, and he made up a rap about Shaq. Because as we all know, George Lopez is a Laker fan, so I never forget that moment. That was a great moment within itself. I liked his role that he played in Blue Beetle. The superhero movie. I like what he did in Blue Beetle. I think that is very underrated.
Shark Boy and
Uh,
Lava Girl.
yeah, that was great. Spare parts. He did a great job in that. Um, there's so many, man. I can't. It's George Lopez is iconic, man. A lot of that word gets thrown around a lot, but he's iconic, man. Uh, some of the stuff that he played in, I kind of get lost for words because it's like, damn, all of these great movies and these great sitcoms, not to mention you were funny as hell as a comedian that you played in. Not to mention you was funny as hell as a comedian. You one of the best comedians around. And you're a Laker fan, so I can't help but like at this point. Uh remember School Days? So
Yes.
School Days was good. Get Down Comedy was real good. That was real good. The movie I was talking about was called Tax Collector.
Yes.
Tax Collector. Hell, he even played in the Smurfs.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he even played in the Smurf. So yeah, when you talk about George Lopez, man, he's been all over the place, man. Like I said, I love his role in Blue Beetle. Hey, when he played in SpongeBob, everything, man. That was iconic, man. Thank you, George Lopez. You provided a great memory. Go Lakers, by the way.
Absolutely, man. And of course, Last but not least, favorite 112 track. Love Me. Love Me. I love Cupid. I gotta be honest with you. Dance with Me. I like Dance with Me more than Peaches and Cream,
Yeah, I like Dance with Me.
especially with the one featuring Beanie Siegel. So I like that one. But 112 back in them days in the ATL. But they were smooth. They were real cool back in them days, like with Slim and them.
Yeah,
So of course, Anywhere, which is the name of the episode of the Sports PSP podcast. So, you know, I love those tracks from them. What's your favorite, big fella?
Hot and Wet.
Yes.
Hot and wet, girl, you make me wanna sweat
Sweat.
when you touch me like that.
Mm,
Girl, you know I wanna give it to you. I love
mm.
that song, man. I love that song, man. Never forget the first time I ever heard that song, man. I went to a phone party. I went to a phone party. That was the first time I ever heard that. I was in high school. I went to a phone party at one of the little local little joints, and we was out there having fun. One of the guys, one of the guys there, because you know you had all the girls in the bikinis or whatever. We had one guy there. He had a full fledged suit standing in the damn phone. That was one of the funniest things I ever seen in my life. But that was real good. It's over now. Cause it's over now. It's over now. I like the way they did that on the Mob Deep beat, man. Off a Quiet Storm.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Only You,
The
with
remix
Biggie
with Big
Smalls.
and Maze.
Yeah, Mace. I remember that because of Biggie more than Mace.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because I'm a Biggie fan. I'm sorry, but
Well, I mean,
um,
you the big fella. I mean, a lot of women called you big back in them days.
yeah. So yeah, that's my cousins. Everybody used to call me Biggie. So that was good. Peaches and Cream. That was good. Cupid. Anywhere. Anywhere. You had Ness going crazy when you put that song on there. Shout out to Ness, not out to Nessa, by the way.
No, I'm not. No, Nessa, I ain't doing no dancing stripping.
Nobody was about to bring that up until you said so. Uh
Look, anytime whenever you bring up Nessa JoJo or even D, not our D, but the other D, the
yeah.
wrestling one, I'm like, fuck no, you ain't getting me to share my cookies and shit. So
Hey, look, it is what it is. Look,
ain't
I
gonna
don't think
happen.
I feel you. I don't think a lot is mentioned when you talk about the 90s when it comes to those groups, man. Those groups had a lot to compete with back in those days.
Jagged
You
Edge.
had
You
Jagged
also
Edge,
had
Boys the Men was still in there. They not only had to compete with those guys on the kind of like the black side,
Blackstreet,
but yeah, Black Street. They only not only had to compete with those guys, they had to compete with the
women
pop
too.
guys. And they had to compete with the pop guys, with NSYNC, with Backstreet Boys, and stuff like that. So they had a lot. There was a lot of competition. But and look,
Women
Drew
too.
Hill,
Yep, Drew Hill. Let's not forget the women too. They also had to compete with the women groups.
yeah, Total
Yeah.
Escape. So they had they had another music group on their label who they had to compete with. So Total was one of a hell of a music group. I
Let's
mean,
not forget SWV.
yeah, SWV man, love that. But there was a lot of competition back then. That was one of the most competitive times in music. One of the most competitive times with music in the 90s and the early 2000s. That was very competitive. And Nelly was right on the money when he said, "Hey, I was I was rapping in the most competitive time in the history in the history of music because I had a lot to compete with, and that was just on the rap side." But when you think about Jagged Edge, when you think about Drew Hill, when you think about 112, when you think about Boys to Men was still doing their thing back then, it was a lot of competition. And in order for people to listen to you, you had to stand out. So for them to go down in history as one of the greater music groups in history is nothing short of amazing, man. But yeah, I love Peaches and Cream and all those and all of that. And Dance with Me was real good too, but especially how they incorporated that single within that video, Peaches and Cream. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was great, man. I used to love them. Hey, I know a lot of stuff is going on now, but fashion back then in music videos, you could watch it. I got one of those Louis Sean John suits because of 112. I had mine all white out and I had my Tim's on with it, man. And that was for me to have one of those back then and how the tank top up under it and stuff like that. That was something big back. They need to bring back them damn velour suits. And when the ladies would wear them, it was even better. So
Definitely.
man, the velour suits, man, back then and the fashion that they brought along, that was nothing short of amazing, man. And the sunglasses, man. The sunglasses was real good, man. You see some of them sunglasses that they used to wear, that was amazing. So the fashion, the voice, the aura that they had, not to mention they were on one of the most powerful record labels probably in history. You can
Yeah,
say what
bad
you
boy.
want to now, but they were on one of the most powerful record labels in history. Hey,
Yeah, but I just love their performances. But love me, man. That was a great check. But it would have been more fun if we had the great BRF on talking about 112, especially he given the fact that he's a Georgia fan himself. But 90s, we were blessed with such great music. And TV and style and everything else. I mean, you had Blackstreet, you had Usher, you had R. Kelly, you had a lot of great artists, singers, groups. It was tough competition. And it was just hard to keep up though, especially with them.
yeah, and one day on one of the shows we have to pay homage to the '90s, man, because the '90s was one of those times where
It was great to be a kid.
it was great to be, yeah, because we had counterculture to everything. The thing is, you wasn't anxious back then to grow up because everything the adults had, we had. We had counterculture to that. Like for Saturday Night Live, we had all that. We had all that to counter Saturday Night Live.
Keenan
The
and
adult,
Kel, we
yeah,
had but not just Nickelodeon, we also had great cartoon shows like Cow and Chicken, Dexter's
yeah,
Laboratory, Ed, and Eddie.
yeah,
We also had the shows on the WB. One of my
yeah.
favorites, Smart Guy.
Yeah. Like I said, you didn't have to be anxious to grow up back then because you had great counterculture to go along with it. Like I stated, all that was our version of Saturday Night Live.
Night
When you
Live.
think about Are You Afraid of the Dark, that was our version of Tales from the Crypt. When you think about R.L. Stein and the Goosebumps series, he was the kids' version of Stephen King. You had counterculture in kid culture back then when we were kids in order to combat you being anxious to be an adult. Like I stated, when you had an R.L. Stein who was feeding your horror movie fantasies as a child, you didn't have to worry about trying to read Stephen King and grow up too early. You had a Saturday Night Live in the form of all that. You had a Tales from the Crypt in the form of Are You Afraid of the Dark? You had a lot of counterculture to go along with that. So you really didn't have to try to grow up too fast and watch those shows. Now, granted, I did watch Tales from the Crypt back when I was younger, but I wasn't as anxious to do it. I wouldn't have been I wasn't as anxious to do it back then as I would have been now if I was a kid because it's like, okay, if I don't have this and I don't watch that show, which is an adult show, what am I going to watch? But
There you go.
there was a lot of counterculture as far as kid culture to combat the fact that you didn't want to grow up as fast, because the performance that our parents was watching, they were coming on kids shows and performing their songs, and we were watching those performances. All that had some of the greatest performances you ever want to see.
TLC, you also
Yeah,
had 112, you also had Ice Cube, you also had Nas, you
yeah,
also had like a lot of great perform but again, 90s, that's because we had it too good. We had it
yeah,
too good, and I think social media played a huge role in it because of how things are declining now. I mean, back then in the 90s, we would used to go to Blockbuster and rent DVDs, rent movies and stuff like that. Nowadays, we just use Netflix and stuff, and that's cool and all, but
Well, back then you had to have some originality to you as well. I
yeah,
mean, the thing is, you had to have some originality. You could just piggyback on what somebody else was saying and make your name that way. You had to really, much like you're doing right now, you had to have some originality to you. You had to have some substance to you. You had to know exactly what you couldn't have. A lot of guys who are doing great today probably wouldn't have done as good back in the 90s because of it was a hard crowd. I mean, even on local television, when you had Showtime on the Apollo, you had to be original in order to stay on the stage. A lot of the guys who stood the test of time back then, the comedians who stood the test of time, all of them started from either Comic View or the or Def Jam. And if you really look at them, nearly all of them became stars. Nearly all of them, from Uncle Elroy to Earthquake, all of those guys who we just grew up watching, just do Comic View. It's like, wow, you guys became huge stars. You know, I remember seeing Uncle Elroy. He was talking about, I'll never forget, the main thing I remember about Uncle Elroy, from next Friday is him,
DC Curry.
yeah, DC Curry. And he used to always tell that damn toe joke,
Mm-hmm.
that he told on he told on damn Comic View. I'm not sucking your damn toe. So that was the main thing I remember. I was like, oh shit, that's the guy who told the toe jokes. So, when he became a big star, it wasn't a surprise because he was just that damn funny. But in the 90s was the original substance. And like I said, a lot of stuff, especially with music, a lot of stuff that was in the 90s is just being recycled right about now. Let's just keep it all the way a buck. It's just a lot of stuff that's being recycled, and it's like, damn, that's crazy.
Also, too, let's not forget the 80s.
Yeah, and I'm surprised we haven't done have we done favorite Prince moment yet?
No, eventually we will at some point.
I gotta do my guy Prince, man. Prince was Prince and Michael Jackson, especially with the movie coming out, man. That those two have to be spoken of because those were the two biggest icons in the 80s and the 90s. Hit after hit after hit. So
We will eventually at some point.
yeah.
But fellas, that concludes the rest of the Sports PSP podcast. Fortunately, we couldn't do it without BRF, but don't worry, BRF said he'll be back soon. Um, Always BRF, love you, brother. Wish you nothing but the best. Take care soon. Take as much time as you need. But big fella, tell him where to follow you at and final words.
WNBA season is upon us. Free agency is here. The WNBA draft is here. And the season starts in less than a month. Brittany Griner has just re-signed a 7-figure deal with the Connecticut Sun, so she will not be rejoining the Atlanta Dream. But don't be afraid. Brianna Jones and Angel Reese is there. They will be able to combat and fill the void that she left. I have to say this. I'm excited for the women that got paid today. I'm excited for the WNBA draft. Please do the WNBA some justice this year. ESPN, I'm talking directly to you. And don't just try to find something in order to have a story about it. Cover it like you cover every other sport. Cover the highlights, cover the things that they can get done, and cover things that basically that is cover basic conversations around basketball. It shouldn't take another incident like we saw last year at the beginning of the season in order for you to cover it. Because at that point, it's exploitation. Let's not exploitate. Let's not exploit these women. Let's cover the women like we're supposed to be. That's number one. Follow me at Undisputed Champ at TikTok, World Champ underscore 2.0 on Instagram. There'll be no Undisputed Go podcast this week due to certain circumstances. BRF, hope to have you back soon. Good luck to Flash and Willow in hockey. Willow is playing hockey up there in Wisconsin. Good luck to her. And congratulations, Flash, on raising a hell of a daughter. And I just want to wish all of y'all a great evening, great day, and just be responsible with your life, be responsible with yourself, and hold your families close because you just never know when that last moment is gonna get here. And PSP, keep doing a great job. I'm damn proud of you, and keep doing you guys' thing. And I will say this for BRF this time. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't mind me stealing it just this once. A topic not thought about is a topic not talked about. And that is paying homage to my good friend BRF, man. And I hope to have you back soon.
Absolutely. Shout out to the other great content creators. Hopefully, eventually, we'll get BRF back. Shout out to Casual. Shout out to Hot Take Kenny, Kieran, Harrison, Raw Sports, Brendan from the Block. Shout out to a lot of great content creators out there, man, and podcasters. Look, we spoke about the Stephen A. Smith situation. Look, two things can be true. I'll give Joy Taylor a lot of credit on this. Just because you're an influencer, you still got to do your homework. You still got to do your facts. But at the same time, just because you're a journalist and you've done it for so long or how long you've done it, doesn't mean you know all the details. And look, for everyone, please, if you're going to drink responsibly. Please have a good time. Ignore that dumbass in office who is a complete utter waste of my time. And people who are regretting voting for Donald Trump, I don't want to hear it because again, you had all this time. Now all of a sudden you're coming out and criticizing him. Glad that y'all criticizing him, but y'all shouldn't have voted for him. Sorry, just saying that. Just sorry if I sound petty. Um, I want to shout out to three beautiful women. One of them does get on my nerves from time to time, but I love you, Mama PSP, greatest mom that I know. Shout out to the great D. Love you, D. You are beautiful and you are an amazing woman. Actually, four people. Shout out to Jennifer Lazarus, my college professor, my former college professor at Montclair State University. Thank you for everything that you've done for me, helping me get to content creation. And hopefully, I'll get a chance to see you soon. And the beautiful Angie. Love you, sweetheart. Hopefully, she's planning for the rest of the family to go on a trip to Ecuador. Hopefully, I can probably go there around the summer. I'll take some photos, some videos to see what it's like in Ecuador. It'd be great. Hopefully, when I come back, maybe Champ and I we can discuss it. I'm definitely gonna have a good time if I have the opportunity to go to Ecuador. But if not, I'll always catch you, sweetie. Hopefully, we'll go to Bunny's, go to a place, go to a bar, have some drinks or whatever, have a good time. Love you, sweetheart. And you are an amazing and wonderful woman in person. And shout out to everyone. Shout out to Makai and the family down in Jersey. Love y'all. And on that note, we're going to wrap up the show. Love y'all. Shout out to Mama Champ and Ace as well. Shout out to Papa Champ. Shout out to BRF as usual. And we is out. Peace.